I don't know what you're talking about.
Is that the skateboard one? I don't
The first one is Goofy and Max go on.
Yeah, they go on a fishing
Pauly Shore
trip.
is the friend. Yeah, but they just go on the fishing trip. Okay, how
Wait,
did we get
hold
on
on.
this topic?
The extremely goofy movie.
That's the
He's
sequel.
listening to
That's
me,
the
so he
sequel.
heard me talk.
Also hilarious that he was watching the sequel to a Goofy
No.
movie.
He was watching a Goofy movie. It just made me.
okay.
You doing those voices makes me think of extremely Goofy movie, especially like the cheese pizza and shit. I don't know. That's the scene I always think of when I think of that guy. I don't know why.
All right, so Jury Duty and Goofy movie on the list. But I think we could get back to, because I mean that's as good a way to start.
If we could have that in like
one
the
of the
same
greatest
season, because it's like
movies of all time. We're starting with talking about watching Jury Duty with starring the wonderful Pauly Shore. Oh, now that's a way. I was trying to figure out a way to remake this, like who would be in it. Pauly Shore, juror number 8.
I
think we have
think
to
he could
listen
be.
to the facts, buddy.
Oh my god.
Hello, I'm Kevin.
And I'm Rachel.
And this is Volume 3 of Shelf Life, or the first episode of Volume 3 of Shelf Life, a podcast hosted by a brother and sister team that always presume innocence until found guilty. And today, we are beginning our third volume, so we're cruising along here, Rachel.
That's right.
This is the 18th subject that we have covered here today at Shelf Life, and this is a big one. This is an important one. This is a classic one. This is one that separates the men from the boys, or whatever. Rachel, what is up for contention to the shelf today?
Today, we are going to be entering the jury room with 12 Angry Men.
1957's 12 Angry Men, directed by Sidney Lumet. A who's who of character actors from the classic Hollywood 1950s, 60s, 70s era, considered to be one of the greats of all time. But that's not the question that we pose here at Shelf Life. The question is, does it have shelf life? Is it worth having on your shelf to rewatch over and over again, time after time, for posterity, to share it across your friends and family, hand it down? We're going to find out today. Because I don't think that anybody really questions whether or not it's considered something that is important. It's in the National Archives. It's in the National Library of Congress. It's I think it's ranked like 5th or 6th on IMDb as like the
It's really
top
high.
movies. It's on AFI's top list. So we're going hot and heavy here with the first subject here at Shelf Life Volume 3. Rachel, I always pose this to you.
Yes.
So the two questions that I will have to pose here. One, what is 12 Angry Men about? Because, folks at home, this is from 1957. I understand that there's probably a lot of people that don't go that far back when doing their movie selections of what they want to watch and what they want to see. So there's probably a lot of people that don't know this movie. And then there's and it's in black and white and all of that kind of stuff.
Exactly, yeah.
There's also probably a collection of people that, hear it and kind of think it's like, one thing versus what it ends up being or something like that. So Rachel, your history with 12 Angry Men, which is shared, we'll get into our shared history of this. But what would you say 12 Angry Men is about?
To summarize 12 Angry Men, well, it's literally 12 men in a room because there's 12 jurors during a court case.
Do you have to explain, like, American...
Yeah. This is an American court case in New York. In a court, you have 12 jurors. These jurors have to go to the back and they deliberate with each other to find out whether or not the person that's in trial is found guilty or not guilty. And the movie goes about the deliberation of the jurors and actually kind of figuring out whether this person is actually guilty or not.
Almost in real time.
Yes.
It's almost in... Like, the movie's an hour and a half long, and I think they
are in the room longer. I think
like
they're
2
showing
hours
that
or
it's like them
something.
in the room longer, but yeah, it almost feels real time.
Yeah. Actually, that's true. I think I've heard contention that it's like
I think it's like 3 hours. I think they're in there for like hours.
Well, I've even heard like it starts at noon and it goes till like the 7 o'clock time, and then some points I think like there's like time jumps, but like the second half is all real time or something like that.
The weird thing is that it does feel like it's just like one long scene, the entire movie.
It is one long scene.
Well, yes,
really,
but that's why it's kind of hard to tell that it does move along, but like the way that the actors act and like how they're displaying emotions and stuff, you can tell that they've been in there for a while. Their stress levels getting a little higher. Thus the angry part.
Everyone in this movie is incredibly angry.
It's fantastic.
In various different ways. So yeah, I mean, I would agree that is what it's about. And then the themes that come along with that, the messages that come along with that, it's about the American justice system. It's about conflict resolution. It's about team building. It's about understanding each other. It's about prejudice.
Yes,
it's
prejudice,
about
bias, racism, all of those.
It covers the gamut.
It really does.
It's I don't want to give away anything, but I mean, I've said, like, it's a classic for a reason. This screenplay and the acting is extremely, extremely, extremely tight, where if you focus on one of the 12 jurors the entire movie, you get a completely different experience.
It's very interesting. It's kind of like, it's almost like you could watch, I would love to see this on stage even. Like, I feel like this could be like a play.
Yes.
I would love that.
So I'm glad that you said that, and we'll talk about our background with it in a second. But this originally started, it was originally written by Reginald Rose, who originally made it for a television movie, like a television special. That was the purpose of it in the like early 50s.
Okay.
And then he adapted it for a stage play.
Okay.
It feels like a stage play,
it does.
Right? Like you could easily see this being a stage play.
Absolutely.
You just need a big table and 12 actors.
Yeah, and like the movement and the way everybody's like doing their part, it just feels like it completely could be on stage.
And then they decided we could make this into a movie. And that's when Henry Fonda was asked to produce it and all of this stuff. And they get Sidney Lumet. And we'll talk about that in a second. But yes, it very much feels like it could be a play. And it's really like one long scene that just goes an hour and a half long. Rachel, what is your experience or your prior history with 12 Angry Men?
My history with 12 Angry Men, I think is kind of interesting because it was actually you and Mom who were like, "Oh, you've never seen this." And I think it was actually around the time that I was going to end up going to jury duty, like for the first time. And then you guys were saying,
that might have been why. Yeah.
Yeah. So we remember. Were like talking about it, and we were like, "Oh, you guys were like, oh, you should watch 12 Angry," or like it's like gonna be like 12 Angry Men, and I was like, I've never seen that, and then it ended up being this, oh, we should watch it. And I was like, I don't know why, like, I don't even know what it is. Like, am I going to really enjoy that? Like, okay. And we ended up watching that together. So that was the first time I've seen it.
I want to say that's the first time I've seen it, too.
I couldn't remember if it was the first time for you.
I think it was.
Okay.
I know I've seen the knife scene many times before.
Okay.
In particular, I know I've seen it many times before because there used to be a game. Do you remember seeing it?
Do you remember seeing it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. Oh, and where they would show like that scene.
Yeah. So for those of you that were born after the towers fell, there used to be this game called Seen It, where you would put the DVD into the DVD player, and you would like move around the board doing movie trivia or whatever kind of trivia. Like there was like a Seinfeld one, there was like I'm sure there was like Harry Potter one. I think there was a Simpsons one.
Right, and then there's and then there's just like
the Simpsons, any Simpsons
TV
trivia. You and I always have a hard time getting anybody to play with us because like we just
know
have
too
a
much
hard
crap
time
with that one.
Yeah, but the movie Seen It, one of the scenes that they would show where they would tell you like how many times did the guy take his glasses off in the scene, or whatever it was. One of those scenes was the knife scene from 12 Angry Men. So that was the only thing that I had seen from it. I think that was the first time I saw it in full too. And I can't remember if it was just like on a whim of like, oh, it's on Turner Classic Movies tonight or something like that, or if we just found it. I don't remember.
I don't remember how we ended up like getting it to watch it, but yeah, we were watching it.
Yeah, over a decade ago, I might have been in school still. I can't remember. But it was back in the day, for sure. And I had not truly gone back to it. Like, I might have caught it here or there if it was on or something until today. Or, whenever, really today, yesterday, whenever I watched it. Yeah, until today.
We're watching it live with you.
We're doing a live run-through of 12 Angry Men. Live commentary. Not live.
We're not live. No, not at all.
So, like I said, Reginald Rose wrote the screenplay. He was trying to make this as a part of a TV thing. It became part of a stage play. Then they decided, because of the television show that they did, the special, that they could do it as a film. So they get Sidney Lumet. Sidney Lumet, this is his first directorial film. Okay. He did TV stuff before that. You probably don't know the name, Rachel, because it's older movies. But he's a very accomplished director from 50s through 70s. Did some dark New York movies in the 70s, like Serpico and Dog Day Afternoon, and these things with Al Pacino, stuff like that. The Verdict. For the first movie that he directed, I mean, it's not the first thing that he directed, but still being the first movie he directed is kind of crazy to think about. But they got him to direct it, and then they were able to get Henry Fonda. Actually, it started with Henry Fonda, so apologies on this. Henry Fonda wanted to do it based on the screenplay that Rose wrote. Okay. And the studio asked Henry Fonda if he would produce, which Henry Fonda regretted because I guess he just hated being a producer, because I think you have to worry about the money and all that kind of shit, of course, because it's your money. So I don't really know why he didn't like it, but he never produced it again because he did not like doing it. But they were the ones that got Sidney Lumet to do it. It's weird, and I was telling Rachel this offline. It's weird because there's not a ton of these stories about it, and I don't know if that's just because it was a very straightforward, we're in a room, we're doing this is the screenplay, this is what we're doing type of shoot, or if it's because it's old or something. But there's not a lot of behind the scenes story stuff unless you kind of find these interviews from these actors, which all of them have passed on. But if you find these interviews from them from the 80s or 90s that are on YouTube, you can kind of get some stories from them. But it just kind of was they filmed it in 3 weeks. They had a budget that would be equivalent of $3 million today, and it bombed. So Rose and Fonda were only going to get paid if the movie made money at the box office, which it didn't. And then it became a rental years later, and it blew up and became a hit. So I think Henry Fonda, again, being the producer, was well, shit. I didn't make a lot. But he thinks it's one of the best movies he ever made. Henry Fonda is kind of one of those guys that is one of those Hollywood royalty type of guys. One of those people that you think of as, when they call it Tinseltown, he's one of those guys that you would think of as Tinseltown, right? He starred in a lot of the stuff that made Hollywood. This being one of them, really. Yeah. It came out to critical acclaim. It was nominated for a lot of Academy Awards, but it really didn't become the huge success until it became this kind of phenomenon of word of mouth, where people really needed to think about it and figure it out. But I think that it has a lot to say. It really does. Like we were saying, everybody can kind of take away different things from it.
There's a lot going on for it being what it is. It feels like there's a lot more happening and a lot more to perceive and take in. Yeah.
Just to give an idea, the movie has a 100% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes. That's based on 60 reviews. So, and I'm sure a lot of those are contemporary reviews, but still. It's weighted 9.1 out of 10 on Rotten Tomatoes, so it's not even oh yeah, it's okay. Right. Like I said, I think it's 5 or 6 or something as of this recording on IMDb, which means nothing because it's a bunch of neckbeards. I mean, Rotten Tomatoes means nothing either. But my point of saying those things is that it has a claim on it, and it had acclaim when it came out. It actually did better internationally than it did in the U.S.
That's interesting. I wonder if it's just like getting a
curiosity.
Yeah, because it is like an American governmental type of thing, so they're kind of like curious as to like what's going on in it. Is this what it's really like? And
yeah, I feel like a lot of democracies do have this type of system. Especially because we borrowed ours from England.
Sure.
So you get another one on us there for our English listeners. And so a lot of that has spread because of English colonization. So a lot of places have this jury concept. Now, whether or not how these people are picked and what they're supposed to do and all of that kind of thing, I'm sure differ throughout the world, but that is what it is. But that's it. It's simple. Now, we get to talk about each one of the 12 jurors.
Right.
We get to talk about all of their personalities, all of their biases, all of that stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think that is going to be fun to go through as well. Now,
it is. Now, you got to keep in mind, too, that this is 1957, and the system has changed since 1957. And so the 12 men in that room are all men, for one.
Yes.
And they're all white.
I actually think that can kind of serve a purpose, though.
It kind of feels like a scientific thing, too, because they're like all
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. For this particular... For part of what theme you can take away,
mm-hmm.
and for this particular adaptation of this story, it kind of fits.
Sure.
Because all 12 of them have they look in common, even though their ages are different. But they all come from different classes. They all have different prejudices and biases and ways of thinking.
Exactly.
So it kind of gets you past that top level of diversity,
mm-hmm.
and it makes you go into this idea of all of this other stuff that can cause you to think and act a different way too.
Right. But I'm just letting them know, I gotta let my listeners know. It's like, hold on a second, because it's like you guys might be in a world where you're like, oh wait, no, this doesn't make any sense. Wouldn't it be a little bit more diverse? Not in this case.
There would probably be at least a woman, I would assume. Yeah.
But yeah, so
but
I just want to make sure.
It's called 12 Angry Men, Rachel.
Men is a very broad term for
That's true.
Yeah,
you could just
we
call
the
it
people.
12 Angry Men and it could be anybody. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I think so. I think so anyway.
Yeah.
I think you could.
I think we could totally umbrella the term and then make it 12 Angry Men, and it's just like anybody.
I'd be fascinated to see if this was remade, which it shouldn't be.
It
was remade.
Know,
it was remade once, and I think and people say that remake is not bad. But I would like to see what it would be if somebody wanted to remake this.
It would be interesting. That could be really...
And who it would be.
Right.
Like, you would need to... Like, getting the juror number 8... Henry Fonda is juror number 8. Getting that juror number 8 character right would be really tough today.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. I think it would be.
It almost have to be Chris Evans playing Captain America. Like, it needs to be that type of guy.
A very lawful good kind of a person, yeah.
Yes. So it's there's only so many that can pull that off in that way and,
mm-hmm.
and still kind of come across as, likable. And juror number 3 would be really fast. It would be really fascinating.
It would be kind of fascinating just to see. What would want to do is have people like tell me who would each juror be in this mm-hmm. time of day. I don't want the movie. I just want to know who would be the juror.
Exactly. I don't want the movie. I just want to know who would you cast in these roles. So folks at home, let us know. I still think Chris Evans. Steve Carell could be a good one.
Oh, he could be in there.
Yeah.
We need like an old man. I'm feeling like, Morgan Freeman could be interesting.
Oh, Morgan Freeman would be a good one, actually.
Yeah.
Morgan Freeman. I could see Denzel Washington if you could afford him.
Yeah.
Would be a good one. Actually,
Women-wise?
honestly, I was gonna say Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Actually, would be good. Yeah. I don't know why.
I don't either.
She just pops in my head. Of course, if you wanted like the A-list, so you get like Meryl Streep as the foreman.
Yeah, obviously.
I think that would be good.
Yeah, that would make sense.
But folks at home, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. Yeah, but yeah, that would be what I want to know is just like who the juror would be, technically. Like who would they like parallel in today's world?
Mm-hmm. That's a good one. It's good. But that's it. That's all I've got for this one. A successful movie, black and white, classic movie, one scene. That's all it is. We'll go through all the jurors during the walkthrough. Rachel, is there anything else that you want to talk about when it comes to 12 Angry Men?
No, I'm ready.
When we come back after a word from our fake sponsor, we will walk through, as you know by now, in great minutia, into 12 Angry Men when we come back.
Hello, I'm Dr. Robert Atkins. My real specialty is diet and nutrition. But today I'd like to talk to you about taking some excess weight off our jury system. A defendant under our legal system is allowed to have a trial by jury whenever he requests. So the State Bar of Michigan and I hope that you will help reduce the court backlogs by serving on jury duty whenever you're called.
Now, what were we talking about, boy?
We were talking about the time you beat jury duty.
Oh, yeah. The trick is to say you're prejudiced against all races.
And we're back with 12 Angry Men doing the walkthrough for the 1957 Sidney Lumet film. All right, Rachel, here we go. You ready
I'm excited.
for this?
Yeah, let's do this.
All right. So we begin the walkthrough. We start with our good friend Leo the Lion from MGM. He greets us with his roar.
Of course.
He's Hollywood royalty, Leo the Lion.
100%.
Where do you have him ranked? No, I'm not going to go on this tangent. I was about to say...
Are you thinking about openings and you're like the woman with the thing and the lion?
Yeah, you got the woman.
Porky Pig.
Porky Pig. He's the ending.
Oh, that's true. He's the end.
Sometimes Bugs is at the beginning.
Yes.
But you got Bugs. You got the lady.
Mm-hmm.
The Paramount lady.
Paramount lady. Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes it's the mountain.
Right.
Then you got the Pegasus.
Oh, the Pegasus. Yeah.
Yeah. Who you taking? Who you got?
I mean, the lion...
universal globe.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I want that spinning globe.
I guess Tinkerbell could count for Disney.
That's Disney is just the castle.
But Tinkerbell sometimes
There was
shows
an
up.
opening that Disney did do that reminded me of Game of Thrones. I don't remember if that's like their new opening or if that's like was just for something specific, but it was like building the city.
And I was
just like, this reminds me of Game of Thrones.
Years?
Oh, their 50-year anniversary thing.
Or something like that.
Yeah, that's what it was.
That might have been what it was.
Goofy.
So Rachel's taking the Pegasus. I'll take Leo.
Fine. At least I could fly.
You can take Leo. I don't care.
I'm flying.
So we get an establishing shot of the courthouse. It goes up from the street level, and it just shows you how big the courthouse is. I think that's done on purpose.
Showing
to show,
dominance.
Or like the importance of it.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And then you go into the courthouse, and then it pans from the top to the bottom, which I think is also supposed to show you like how cavernous this building is and how grand it is.
Right.
I wonder. I'm probably gonna mix and match and do some of this theming at the beginning and the middle and the end of this. I wonder if the viewpoint of the movie, when it comes to the legal process, I think it's very positive. I think it's supposed to be like, this is the ideal of how the process should work. Mm-hmm. So I wonder if it's supposed to be like a beauty shot of like, we're going into this grand place to have justice served. And then it contrasts when we get to the jury room in a minute, where it's just this little dingy room with this table and like nothing else in it. If that's kind of supposed to be purposeful.
No, I could see that, where it's like, okay, this is like the big deal. This is the idea of what we want justice to be. This is like the justice building, and like you come in here and like everything's done the right way. And then you have like the little dank room that everybody gets shoved into
where the actual
area.
business gets done. Yeah.
With the real people who are doing it, like actual real people, not part of the government.
The everyday people.
The everyday person.
It pans across to like this hallway, and you see like some different things happening that are part of the everyday with the
like a court
with the court. There's like a trial that just got out very clearly. There's a bailiff asking them to be quiet, and then we go into courtroom 228, where this judge is giving the final spiel about the case. And this judge seems like he is so disinterested. He doesn't want to be anywhere, but he does not want to be here at all.
Yeah, he seems kind of tired.
This is the kind of judge that I probably would be like, oh crap, I got the tired judge.
Right.
I got the judge that doesn't.
I got the grumpy one. Great.
Yeah.
He's even
not
grumpy.
as bad. He's not as bad as the
jury.
Okay, so we're gonna have to do like a cinematic judges at some point, because you got like,
love that.
I'd rather have this guy maybe versus the judge from Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah, definitely.
But probably the burned at the stake. Like, this guy's not saying that. He can't get enough energy out. But I love the fact that he's just sitting there like, yeah, you're gonna have to figure out if he's guilty, because I'm gonna have to sentence him to die. I have to put him in the electric chair if you come back. And
oh yeah, because he said if you guys come back with a guilty verdict, it's death penalty. Like, it's the
really
maximum, which is the maximum sentence. Yeah.
If you come back before 6, I can go out to the golf course.
Oh, he's going to the golf course anyways. He doesn't care. He's waiting for them to actually tell him to call him back in. The judge doesn't have to stay.
No, I think he does have to stay.
He has to stay in the courthouse? I thought they could leave.
So. I think so, because if the jury comes back and says we're done,
oh, yeah,
they
that's
can recuse.
True.
He can recuse them for the night.
Oh right, yeah, that's true.
But as long as they're there, he should be.
I kept thinking that he had to leave. He could leave, and like they could just call him.
Goes back, and the judge is telling him like, you have a great responsibility. You're gonna have to murder this kid. It's gonna be great.
I hate that he's like,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know if he's that ho hum about it, but I mean, he is
he
just sounds
acting.
tired to me.
He is acting like this job fucking sucks. He is on there going like, I don't give a flying fuck what you guys.
No, I guess you're right. I mean, he does look kind of bored because he even is like. But
and I get it. It's 1957. It's a courtroom in New York, and it's the hottest day of the year. He is sweating his balls off under this robe.
No,
he might not even be wearing pants.
Gross.
Because it's 1957.
I mean, he is a judge. He can wear what the hell he wants. Yeah.
Rachel, if The Simpsons has taught me anything, you can wear a judicial robe without pants. Stay tuned for that one.
Oh my God.
10 years from now. I don't want to look like an idiot. Just give me a moo-moo. So the judge decrees that they go back into the jury room. They all exit the jury room, or the courtroom.
The juror box, yes.
The juror box. And you see the defendant.
Yeah, you kind of see like a side shot. It's like you don't get to see like the whole person right away.
Yeah. And it's clearly just like this young kid.
Yes.
And they focus on him for a while. They really make you kind of like take it in.
That's when they like zoom in and they're like, take him in. This is the
Everyone
person.
gets a zoom in this movie.
Everybody gets a zoom in.
I
you know those like Addams Family, like the lights across the eyes bit? That's what always happens in this movie. Every time they zoom in, the face has to have that like dramatic lighting. It's just like
when you're dealing with 12 character actors that are well known. I think it might have been Jack Klugman, who said Sidney Lumet was like, everyone's gonna get a close up. Don't worry about it. So I think I also think that was his intention.
Oh yeah, I think they should, because you're looking at each individual's person and like their thoughts and everything.
As they're entering the room, you get a fade in from the defendant into the room, which obviously is supposed to be kind of symbolic of like his fate is in their hands.
In this room.
It goes to extremely, extremely simple opening credits. Just names of people.
Oh, yeah.
And very simple font.
Yes, very simple.
And goes through all of the credits. And then we get one of the ways that Sidney Lumet did the language of film, if you will. And I don't know anything about film, so I can't be like, oh, yes, and oh, the wonderful techniques and how he did it and all of this stuff. But I do know that this is all one shot. From them coming into the jury room until the foreman calls for order, it is all one singular shot.
I do love that.
It makes it feel like a play. It makes it feel like you're engrossed into this now.
You're in with them now. Like, it feels more realistic. Like, cause it's like people are just kind of like doing their thing and getting settled.
And we learn a little bit about each guy as it does this. The other thing that it does is I don't know how it does this to get it into like the very technical terms, but at the beginning of this room and this movie, he's using wider lenses to make the room appear bigger, and that everybody has some distance between them. You're farther away from everybody. As the movie goes on, he used different lenses, I guess, and different techniques to make you feel more claustrophobic and like you're tightening in. Right. And I think that helps to increase the tension. It helps to increase the idea that they're all getting closer together or figuring more out about each other or how to manipulate each other or whatever. Kind of that genius filmmaking stuff, you know, of how you can use a camera in conjunction with the writing, in conjunction with the acting to kind of put all this together. I don't know how they do it. Red
Letter Media, do a hell of a job.
If you guys are listening, you guys do 12 Angry Men in your review. Maybe you can tell us. But it gives you that sense. It's supposed to be claustrophobic. It's supposed to be nerve-wracking.
Yeah, because you're all stuck in one room together until the verdict comes up. Like, that's the whole idea.
That's how it works. So we get a little bit going around the room. There's this guy wearing like a striped suit and hat that is talking about how it's supposed to be the hottest day of the year, and he can't get the fan to work, and he talks to this other guy that's kind of in just looks like a regular guy, and the bailiff makes them kind of all sign off that they're all there and that these are their names and stuff. And we pan back to the other side of the room, so you're just getting like these pan backs and forth of different things that they're all kind of going over with each other. There's one guy that
it's giving each person their like first like their okay, this is them, right? And you
just
kind
a little
of
bit, just a little bit.
As a viewer are going to have your own bias and judgment on each one of them as well, which I think is interesting.
Right. Yeah, the one guy comes because the bailiff locks the door because you get locked in, and the one guy comes by who's supposed to be younger than the rest of them, but they didn't get a younger guy.
Sure.
And they were just like, oh, it still works. But he says, like, oh, I didn't know that they would lock us in. And this guy, like, clearly with, like, a cold or something.
Oh, my God.
Is like, oh, yeah, of course they lock us in. And it turns back to this guy's, like, putting papers together. Clearly he's making himself foreman. He
probably already voted foreman before the court case.
Do you think so? I think he just kind of took it upon himself.
I guess.
No, you don't elect a foreman until you get into the room.
Don't? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I figured it was like at the beginning, but I don't remember.
Yeah, at least not until you get into the room. Another guy in like a suit sits down with this meekish looking fellow talking about the jury, and he's like, I thought it was very interesting. He sounds very familiar, that guy.
Oh yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Probably
the
like
guy
a
with
shorter
the suit
character, right? You know?
Yeah.
You know, Pink.
Yeah. Yeah, I see Pink. It's in black and white, but when I see him, I see Pink.
Yes,
I don't get it. And this other guy's like, oh, I've been on a lot of juries, and this one was pretty dull, especially when it was an open and shut case. So you get an idea of kind of where everybody stands, or at least what some of them stand. And the guy with the suit on is like, hey, let's get this show on the road, huh? And there's one guy in the bathroom, so the foreman's like, oh, well, I thought we'd kind of start, we'd wait for that guy. And then they all say like, oh, well, you're in my seat and stuff like that. So they decide to all sit in their jury number order.
Right.
Rachel, should we go around the table?
I think we could go around the table. I think
all
we
right,
could
let's
do
go
that.
around the table. Okay. Juror number 1. Juror number 1 is the foreman, played by Martin Balsam. If I refer to him as juror number 1, I will also refer to him as foreman.
Right.
In this. I think that's fair.
I think it's fair as well.
Okay, so Rachel, I told you that you know every single one of these actors from something else.
You did.
outside of this. Martin Balsam is entering the multiple timers club here on Shelf Life. You look familiar?
Well, if it's going to be a multiple timer, it'd have to be like Twilight Zone or something.
I mean, it would have to be Twilight Zone.
Right? It has to be. I'm like trying to think of the other stuff. I'm like, it's got to be Twilight Zone, right?
I don't see him in the... Oh, yeah, there he is.
Which one is it?
So he was in the 60mm Shrine. He played the agent, Danny Weiss, in the 60mm Shrine. So you've already seen him.
That's why I know the face.
He's going to be back, though. He is the detective in Psycho. He's in Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Okay.
He's in Naked City.
All right.
He's in Cape Fear. He's in the TV show The Untouchables.
Interesting.
He's in another episode of The Twilight Zone that we'll do again one day. He did a lot of TV. The Man from U.N.C.L.E., The Fugitive. That is the foreman.
Yep.
So that guy, and the foreman, what we find out about him is that he's kind of your average guy, but he's trying to keep things organized. You know?
Yeah, he's he's trying to be like the leader and keep things organized and give everybody to kind of like do their thing, and it makes sense. Yeah.
All right, so we'll continue going around the room because I think this is the easiest way because we don't get to go around the room for a little bit more. So I think that we can start here because we're going to be referring to people by their numbers or their descriptions for the rest of the time. Juror number 2, Rachel. I know you know. Okay,
I know this one.
Go ahead.
This is the one that you called him Meek. So this is the Meek guy that was sitting on the chair. This is Piglet. Like you would just hear Piglet.
Yeah, if you hear. All right, here's his voice.
I just think he's guilty. I thought it was obvious from the word go. I mean, nobody proved otherwise.
Yeah, that's Piglet.
It's Piglet.
So John Fiedler. John Fiedler played Piglet until the day he died in 2005. He was 80 years old. He paid Piglet. He probably paid Piglet too. He played Piglet until 2005.
I love that. I love that he was always Piglet. That makes me happy.
Yes. He sounds just like Piglet. It's unmistakable. Rachel, the one thing I thought was weird about this, and looking at him, John Fiedler was your age when they filmed this.
No, that's weird.
Yeah. And he does not look that age.
I feel like back
I
then everybody looks old.
Everybody
just looks
They're all
older.
smoking cigarettes in this movie. They were all probably dragging on set forever. They all look like shit. All right, so juror number 2 or Piglet?
Yep. Sorry, but yes, that is going to be how we describe them.
All right, juror number 3 is played by Lee J. Cobb in a tour de force performance, in my opinion. Rachel, you know what he's in? It's on the list.
I know the face. I feel like I know the face.
You've seen him a lot older.
Okay. I don't know what it is though.
He is the detective in The Exorcist.
Oh my god. You're kidding. Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah.
Look, I might not have looked at the screen much during The Exorcist. We'll get to that one later, but still.
His scenes are all right, except you're like always waiting for something to happen.
For the next scene, and then something else is going to happen like right away, and you're just like, no.
I call him Angriest Man.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Or Angry Dad. So either one of those, but juror number 3.
I didn't know the Angriest Man was The Exorcist. Okay.
Yeah. Juror number 4, or the broker, as we come to learn. I think we learned that in a couple of minutes here, actually. So, like, he's looking at the newspaper, and juror number 3 actually says to him, like, "Oh, you're looking at the paper there." And he's like, "Yes, I'm a broker."
Yeah, he was, like, checking the numbers and whatever.
He's a very analytical man.
Yeah, very. He comes across that way as, like, an analytical guy.
Yes. Rachel, you know what you've seen him from?
See,
You've seen him as an old man.
I'm upset because Piglet had to be number 2, and I feel like he's the only one I'm going to get.
I didn't know some of these. I looked these up. I looked some of these up. I knew Lee Cobb was the detective. I knew the foreman. Some of these I had to look up, though.
I know the face. The thing is, it's like, I feel like this guy, I know the face, but I don't know from what.
If I were to say to you, "So do washing machines," would that help?
No! No, it's not. You're lying.
Yes. Yeah.
You're lying.
He is Grandpa Art
from
in
National
Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. He's in a lot of other things. Here. He's in a lot of other things. But for us, he has a special place in our heart because he says some of the greatest lines we'll ever quote, including, "We have to get to lunch so I can eat my back pills."
Yes, that's right.
And so do washing machines. That's juror number 4.
That's amazing.
The broker. Mm-hmm.
Okay. That makes me happy. All right. Yes.
Okay. Juror number 5. I call him eventually Slum Guy. Because find out that he lives in the slums.
Yeah, he had a background in the slums, yes.
Mm-hmm. So, Rachel, this is a very famous character actor. I don't know if you'll know who he is, because I don't know if you've seen a lot of what he's been in.
I don't know, actually. I don't think I recognize this one.
Yeah, so this is Jack Klugman. So if, like, you or I were to, like, ask Grandma and Grandpa who Jack Klugman are, they would be able to tell you who Jack Klugman is. So he's in 4 episodes of The Twilight Zone.
Of course.
He is...
Who wasn't back in the day?
Right. He's in a bunch of different movies. I'm trying to find one that you would be like, oh, okay. And it's The Odd Couple. That's his most famous role. And then they, of course, did some different things with The Odd Couple. He is...
is he like a main character in The Odd Couple?
Yeah. Yeah. I can't remember if he plays Oscar or...
I mean, it's been...
I think he plays Oscar.
Way too long since I've even seen anything with The Odd Couple. But...
Yeah, he plays Oscar in The Odd Couple.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's juror number 5, Jack Klugman, Slum Guy. And then juror number 6 is Edward Binns. I called him Painter, because we find out later that he's a painter. We're going to find him in different stuff, too. I think he's definitely, like, more character actor.
Okay.
Than like super famous kind of thing.
Sure.
Where we'll see him in Patton. We'll see him in... God, all of these guys, because they are character actors, they just have so many fucking credits. It's, like, unbelievable how many credits these guys have. North by Northwest, The Verdict. So he's in a bunch of stuff.
Okay.
That we'll see. I don't know how predominant he is, but he's definitely in a bunch of stuff.
Interesting. All right.
Juror number 7, I described him as salesman. He is Jack Warden. Jack Warden is, again, it's another, like, character actor guy. He's all over the place. He's in a bunch of different things. He plays the owner in The Replacements.
Okay.
That's what I know him from.
Sure.
But I think it's one of those, like, if we ask Grandma and Grandpa, Jack Warden would have been in, like, a ton of shit. Like, he would have been a very known actor.
In this, it shows while you were sleeping.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he's all over the place in, like, all of these different things. He's in The Twilight Zone, of course.
Of course. Everybody was. Everybody had to be in it.
Juror number 8, which I think should just be juror number 8, or Henry Fonda.
Oh, yeah. That's
is Henry Fonda. So right. Henry Fonda is playing the lead character in this movie as juror number 8. He's standing by the window for most of this, like, people are talking thing. And I didn't think about this, Rachel. He's wearing a white suit.
He is. Yes. I feel like that's metaphorical.
Yes, I think so, too. I think it's got to be metaphorical.
Heavy-handed metaphorical.
It has to be.
I think so.
But he is, like I said, he's one of those, like, Hollywood royalty type guys. He was in The Grapes of Wrath, on Golden Pond, a million things from back in the day.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I think he's got 124 credits on his IMDb.
My God, that's so many.
So everybody knows who Henry Fonda is, and of course, like, you have the Fondas and Peter Fonda and all that stuff. So juror number 8. Juror number 9, I just called him Old Man.
Definitely just Old Man. That's the
Joseph's,
perfect way to describe this guy.
He's an old man.
He is an old man.
He's the oldest one of the group. Joseph Sweeney. Now, it'll be interesting to find out if we hit Joseph Sweeney's stuff in other ways, but he's got 53 credits.
Okay.
And died in 1963. Okay. So he died only 6 years after this.
Oh.
So a lot of his stuff is from before this.
Sure.
Which means he's in a lot of TV. And he was in a lot of TV in the 40s and 50s, so we'll see. But I don't see any Twilight Zone on there, so we might not see him again. But he's in a bunch of other stuff, for sure. Old Man.
Old Man.
Juror number 10, I called Bigot.
You'll understand why later.
You could call him Guy with Cold, I guess, too.
Oh, God. You know what? Yeah. Gross germ man. Okay, look. Yeah, the cougher. Or the sneezer or whatever. I mean,
And
He'd be the
he
guy
talks-
I'd be like, can I please move to the opposite side of the room?
I do not want to sit next to him. Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, he's coughing and sneezing and interrupting people this whole time. I kind of want to know if he did it. I have a feeling it was like actually in the script for him to like cough and like interrupt.
There's
somebody,
some
too.
though where he's like he does it and like the person like glares at him. And it's
I know,
just
but I
like,
think that's
wait.
Yeah, I think that's on
It
purpose.
felt real though, like. Oh my god, you're so annoying. Like, it keeps happening. We've been stuck in this room with this sick dude.
So this is Ed Begley. Ed Begley is a notorious, like, villain, I think, in a lot of movies.
Interesting.
So it makes sense that he's playing the bigot here. He's in a shitload of television as well.
Okay.
That's where anybody from the 50s would have recognized him from. Just a lot of television shows, some westerns, some dramas, a lot of that kind of stuff where he could come in and be like the bad guy for like a time or two.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I guess
But
you
Ed
have to.
Begley-
Sometimes you're just good at it. Sometimes you're good at being the bad guy.
That's your thing. Juror number 11 I wrote down as immigrant.
Yeah.
That's his character or his trait.
No, that's a big trait for him. Yes. When we
Yeah.
talk about the stuff he talks about, yes, exactly.
Played by George Voskovic. He has a bunch of credits again, and he is going to be... Oh, let's see. Is there anything? Because he's again like a TV guy, and like a
lot
Western
of them are going to
guy.
be TV guys, yeah. And
Yeah,
it's hard
so-
for us to get into all of like every TV show out there.
Well,
and,
we
like,
already
all
said
of
we're
these
doing-
little things, but
We're doing more Shelf Life Selects stuff with
that'll
some
be
of
a-
this stuff
definitely
that
a-
we
be a
don't
select.
know. Yeah, so if they were gonna pop up, it's probably not gonna be in a TV show that we're gonna walk through everything.
right.
And then juror number 12, I put as Ad Man or Madman.
Oh, he's definitely a madman. 100%.
Yeah.
I also thought madman the second he like started talking. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's Madman.
And if you don't
Uh,
understand what I'm talking about, Mad Men is also a TV show
About
like,
ad executives,
yes.
and he's an ad executive, so like that's definitely where he
Mm-hmm.
comes from. He will show up again on Shelf Life at some point during our journey. He's in Private Benjamin. He's in The Dirty Dozen. He's in Midway. He has an obnoxious amount of credits, Rachel. He has 151 acting
Oh my
credits.
god.
These guys knew how to work back then.
Apparently.
They knew that you could walk in, you could have 10 seconds on Mannix, and you could walk out and you could get paid.
That's right.
And that's the way it should be.
Is it? I guess.
Goddamn right. So anyway, those are our 12 jurors. So you have Foreman, Piglet, Angry Dad, Broker, Slum Guy, Painter, Salesman, Number 8, Old Man, Bigot, Immigrant, Madman.
Yep.
Or you could call them by their numbers, Rachel. But I want to make sure, I'm glad that we took the last 10 minutes to discuss that.
No, I think it was good because then we got to talk about each actor and everything.
And now we have an idea of what all of them are so that we can make sure that we can call them all right. Because as we do this walkthrough, we have to make sure that we understand them. Because it's going to be easier to call them by their descriptions or their numbers than it is going to be to call them by their acting names.
Sure,
Like,
of course.
their acting names, by their real names.
Right.
Okay, so anyway, Madman is talking with 8 at the window, and he's talking about how they're lucky that they got a murder case, because anything else would have been dull. Like, if they would have gotten
Right.
an assault or anything like that, like, it would have been like a real dead spot. But there's no real dead spot, because it's a murder beef.
So it's so interesting.
So-
yeah, like, I understand, but it's also
gotta-
like, good God.
He's got a point. He's got a point. He's got a point. It moves back out again, and we go by the salesman, and and the bigot are talking about the bigot having this hot weather. This is the best way to describe them, everyone. Juror 11 and Juror 7 are talking about this hot weather cold. Is that a thing? Is that just a thing from the 50s because they all ate and like shit and they smoked
maybe.
like
That
chimneys
could be it.
and they were just terribly out of shape?
Oh, and probably like the smog and the awful
Oh yeah, there's probably
air
smog and
weather.
shit and piss and
Oh my
God knows what in that
Really?
fucking air. Again, folks, the people that say we need to go back to the 50s, they're wrong. Like, yes, the tax rate was probably better for the common man, but everything else was shit.
Oh, just kind of gross and dirty and just ugh.
Like I saw like a post one day of somebody being like, "Oh, look, this is like a picture from like the 40s. Like, look how in shape everyone is." And I thought, no, I get that there's too many fat people now, but they were all anemic and dying slowly from eating boiled cabbage and smoking and sucking on gasoline, having asbestos in their lungs. We're not right, but we weren't right then either. And we find that out as this movie progresses. See, I'm getting angry. I'm trying to get into the mode of being one of the 12 angry men, Rachel.
Oh, okay, I see.
They're all super sweaty. They're all tired.
So sweaty.
This is where the broker's looking at the paper. We find out that the angriest man is a messenger. He owns a couriering service called Beck and Call.
I really like that name.
I kind of wonder if that means that his last name is Beck.
Oh, do you think?
Or Call.
Oh,
yeah.
I like it.
I mean, you never find out what anybody's
sense.
name is in this. So we find out that the salesman has tickets to the ball game tonight, and he's really worried about missing the ball game. So that we get a little bit of his motivation too. And then they finally all decide, like, okay, we're going to sit in order, which I don't think is usually a thing, but they decide, let's sit in order. And I don't remember although they, again, like,
you in place then.
I went to jury duty during COVID, so it was a little bit, like, they put us in this, like, huge room.
Oh, okay.
Where you could sit, like, every 3 spots or something like that. So it wasn't, like, it was just kind of, like, random. You know,
sure.
Everybody just kind of sit.
Makes sense.
So the foreman calls them all to sit. They're all smoking. I even said that a madman has a DeVille. He's got a DeVille going on. In fact, some of them all have different ones. Like, a lot of them are smoking cigarettes.
Right.
But Piglet's got a pipe. Got
Piglet
a
has a pipe. I thought that was so interesting. Flippin' pipe. Yeah, they're all smoking. They're all, like, wiping their sweat constantly. And
oh, yeah. They are sweaty, ugly, disgusting pig men.
Wow, okay.
That's how they all are.
Beast.
They're all hog. They've eaten 1,000 pancakes. I want to know what the jury was on that one that got that guy off.
Good God. How?
Keanu should not have won that case.
He really should not have.
Is that movie on the list?
That's
like the third time we've talked about it on Shelf.
No, it has to be.
It is, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes.
Not for a while.
No. It's a long one, too. That might be hard.
Henry Fonda is the last one. He's at the window. They ask him to come sit down. They're doing a little bit of talking, some more like backstory, like some more just like, oh, what did you think? Like, oh, I thought the prosecution was really all that kind of crap.
Mm-hmm.
And they eventually, we find out that the slum kid is an Orioles fan compared to salesman. And then they go to get the old man out of the bathroom, and he apologizes for keeping them all waiting. And obviously he wasn't really keeping them waiting, but I don't know what that old man was doing. Was he pooping in there?
Probably.
I guess he's an old man, so he
he's just taking a while, and he was probably like wiping his face and just
Yeah, I think was a thing back then. You wiped your face a lot more in the 50s.
Well, I mean, it's hot, so it's kind of like you just like get that cool water on your face.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you splash cold water in your face, because that's always in every movie and show. You get upset, go splash water in your face.
Yeah, folks at home, has anyone actually ever done that?
I
splash water in their face? It's a cliche in movies, but I don't know if I've ever done it in real life.
Like, if anything, it was like, okay, just like get something cool on the back of your neck. But
yeah,
when you're like super hot, but
the foreman says we won't have any rules here. We could talk first or we could vote first. And the broker says let's vote. The salesman seconds it, and they decide to vote. And they decide to do this just by like show of hands. Mm-hmm. So some put it up right away. A few hesitantly put it up. Henry Fonda, number 8, waits to vote not guilty. And his reasoning for voting not guilty is that he wants to talk about it first.
Right.
So Bigot says, there's always one, and he's like, I just want to talk. So he doesn't know. He's explaining he doesn't know if he's innocent or guilty, but he wants to talk about it first.
Right.
He just wants to know. And Angry Dad says he heard all the same evidence. Do you want it listed to you? Because, like, do you want to kind of go over it all again?
they're
like
kind of
11...
saying it in rude ways, like, oh my god, do we have to, like, repeat everything? And it's like...
Right. Well, and that's where there's videos of this on, like, YouTube, and I think this is taught in, like, classes and stuff, of how to persuade others, and how to argue with others, how to debate others. In today's world, we really need to take some of these lessons to heart. Because, again, all 12 of these, as Rachel said, are, like, middle-aged white guys that all live in New York City. They don't all have similar backgrounds, though.
No.
So they're all bringing different biases to the table.
Which is always the interesting part, is that they don't have the backgrounds. Yeah.
Yeah. They all have different personalities. They all have different ways of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Kids, if there are kids listening because you got your parents' permission to listen to Shelf Life, or there are people in college that are listening, a fucking project for your class could have this same issue. Where there's just people that are stubborn, or there's people that want to get hung up on a detail, or any of this stuff. It doesn't have to just be the courtroom. And that's what I think is kind of interesting about the movie, too, is that it brings up a lot about the human condition in different kinds of ways.
Right.
It just uses the courtroom as the catalyst of how to do this, you know?
Mm-hmm.
They say 11 people think he's guilty except him. How come you're voting not guilty? Henry Fonda says it's just not that easy for him to be able to say, I'm going to raise my hand and sentence this man to die, this kid to die.
Right. Which is what he's thinking, because it's like the judge said, if you bring back the guilty, it's going to get maximum, which is the death penalty. Which that would make me nervous. It's like I'm surprised that they actually said that, because when I was
1957, it's different.
When I was called for jury duty and I had to read my little pamphlet about everything, and it happened to talk about the death penalty, it was saying it's not your choice, right? You're not the one that's going to have to choose whether they get the death penalty or not. It's like that's up to the judge, and that's decided after. So it's okay for you to still say guilty, like if that's on the line. So you don't have to think about it that way. In this, it's like, well, if you say guilty, guess what's going to happen? And it's like, well, thanks for that. Yeah, because now that feels harder.
I don't know if that's how things were in the 50s or not, but that could be a device to raise the stakes or to make it understood why he's more willing to stand up against the other 11.
Right.
Because of that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's possible too. We weren't even one of the jurors, when we were in the jury room, this was probably another reason why I got told I was the level-headed one or whatever. One of the jurors said, well, what will happen if she is found guilty? And I said, we can't think about that.
Right.
That's not for us to decide.
Yeah.
That we can't, that doesn't matter.
That's not part of what we're doing.
It doesn't matter if she's going to go to...
she is or not.
Right. We don't decide that. That's the judge's job. He could throw her in jail for 10 years. He could say, here's a probation. He could say, here's a $10,000 fine.
Yeah, here's a slap on the wrist.
That's not ours to decide. So they decide, because he's just like, I just want to talk about it. I just want to figure out, I just want us to discuss this. They're kind of like, well, how long do we have to talk about it? Like, what is there to talk about? It's so open and shut to all of them. Salesman is like, you think I really voted fast? You think that was easy for me? I'm talking about the evidence.
Right.
And nothing that you say is going to change my mind. So this is where I'm glad that they threw this line in. And as I did a little bit of digging into this, I'm glad that we found this, because I watched this, Rachel, with Mom and Dad, because I was happened to be at their house before we did the recording. And I remember when we were done, or when it was over, Mom said, obviously Juror 8 is the protagonist, the hero of the story, and in the right. But she was like, but at some points it felt like he was rooting for not guilty rather than what his intention really is here, which is saying, I don't know if I'm right or wrong.
Right.
But we should be going over everything first.
Right.
And I'm not going to try to change your mind. I just want to go through the facts again.
But...
because I want to understand it.
Sometimes it does feel like I want to change your mind.
Exactly.
It
Sometimes
does feel
it feels
that way,
like
where it's
he's
just
like, I want to change your mind.
It's like, hold on a second, whatever you're saying, but like, let's actually make it the other way. Like, let's make it not guilty because of XYZ. And it's like, hold on a second.
Yes.
That's not what you're trying to say, though. That wasn't your original intent.
But I do think maybe that is part of, as the evidence, as they talk and as evidence comes out, he's starting to convince himself that it is not guilty.
That
so I
makes
think
sense.
That's where...
And so now he's like, well, hold up, I'm convinced. This is convincing me, and now I want to convince you.
Right. So maybe that's how it works, because I do agree with that standpoint, where it's like, yeah, sometimes he does feel like he's rooting for one side or the other, where when he's saying, no, I just want us to discuss this. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the way that everything think it is fair. Should be.
I think it should be discussed. I think it shouldn't just be like all right, he's guilty, done. It should be a discussion. That's kind of the whole point of you being there.
A lot of what this movie is doing is giving Henry Fonda this ability to be against the mob, against like
mob
which of course which in the 50s was all about McCarthyism, and you see that a lot today too, where you see are you on this side or that side?
And that's the only thing. And it's like, well, let's discuss
about a lot of issues. And there are a few issues out there that are, you probably are on a side of empathy or a side of bigotry or whatever. Mm-hmm. But there are issues where, no, maybe we should talk about everything here and kind of see what the best way to do this is. You gotta realize that there's
like all these little things in between.
Yeah.
And
So again, it is that. And, both sides can get mad at you for saying,
absolutely.
Wait, can we talk about this and figure out, because not everything is, it's interesting that for a black and white movie, it's shades of gray.
Right? Look at that.
Mm-hmm. At this point, he tells them, let's just take an hour to talk about this. Mm-hmm. And we'll just kind of go over the facts. We'll take an hour. We'll do another vote at the end if nobody can, So Bigot tries to tell a story, and 8 is like, that's not what I want to do here. I don't want to just sit here and do nothing. Like, we're actually supposed to, like, talk about the facts. Fonda starts by saying, well, he's been in a slum his whole life. He's had a terrible life. He's been hit on the head once every day. Mm-hmm. We at least kind of owe him, like, something before we send him to death.
Right.
And Bigot says, Ed Begley says, says, I'm going to tell you right now, we don't owe him a thing.
That sick guy.
Yeah. So he's saying, we don't owe him anything. He goes and grabs more tissues, and he's like, I know what he is. I've lived among them my whole life, and they're born liars. So
Yeah, he's very open about it. He's very open about it.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting how...
I'm not surprised.
Yeah?
No, I'm not surprised, because that's his opinion. That's what he thinks is the truth.
But that he would be that open about it?
Oh, yeah. I think I think that there's people that are like that. There's some that are kind of quiet and they don't even realize that they have that bias towards like another person. And then there's these people who are like very open about it because they're like, no, that is what it is, period. Like these people are bad and that's just the way life goes. And I even think like nowadays it's true too. Like some people don't realize they think that way and some people are very open about it. It's just... There's like a whole variety of people on that one. So I'm not actually that super surprised. It's just whenever it comes out and he says it, it hurts a little.
I actually thought it was, I mean, we'll get to what happens to him by the end of this. It's interesting.
I love that part, but we'll get there.
Yeah, because I mean, if all 12 of these are supposed to, kind of represent different aspects of society or different aspects of, that, then it is interesting. Old man comes back with a really good line here, I thought, where he says, do you have a monopoly on the truth? Like, we need to explain to this man, meaning Juror 8, what... why we think what we think. We need to open some stuff up.
Right.
So the foreman tries to regain order. There's this little thing where the ad man is doodling some stuff. He kind of gets admonished by the foreman. He's like, hey, we're trying to do something here.
Right. So, like we're trying to like pay attention. Yeah.
He makes up for it though. And obviously one thing that we're not going to be able to necessarily convey on the podcast is all the camera movements. The camera can like swoosh and zoom and the way that everything is framed makes you kind of feel like you're at the table a lot.
Right.
One thing that happens at the beginning of the movie too, or as the movie progresses, is Henry Fonda is shown almost kind of lower than everyone. And then as the not guilties pile on, he becomes higher and the guilties become lower in stature. Mm-hmm. It's interesting to kind of, so it's like all that kind of stuff. It's like
tipping a scale almost.
Yeah, so all of that kind of stuff is not going to come through as we talk about the plot, but there is a lot of framing devices and things like that that are in the way that it's shot too.
Sure. We'll try to mention as many visuals as we can see and remember.
Yeah. So Ad Man actually kind of like redeems himself because the foreman says he wants 8 to explain like why he thinks it's not guilty, and Ad Man is like, no, I think what actually he's saying not guilty, we're saying guilty, so actually we should be trying to convince him why he's guilty. So we should kind of go around the table one by one and kind of say why we're guilty.
Well, it's interesting because it's like, well, 8 didn't say he's not guilty. He said he doesn't know.
Right.
So it's like, you can't really have a person who says, I don't know, explain their side of it. You kind of have to explain it if you think you have the right answer.
Right. Interestingly enough, throughout this entire movie, Foreman never says why he thinks one way or another.
I realized that when I watched it too.
Yeah. I don't know if that's a metatextual thing where it's like he's the leader and the organizer, so his opinion counts, but he doesn't want to sway the rest. He doesn't want to sway his...
Yeah, because I don't even realize when his opinion swayed. We might have to talk about that.
There's a point.
Because I don't remember when, but it's just like all of a sudden it happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it might have happened when a lot of them were swayed at the same time. But...
Yeah, I think it's like 3 are swayed and one of them is him.
Yeah.
So we go around the table. We start with Piglet. Piglet says nobody proved he isn't guilty. And 8 says, well, that's not the case. Somebody has to prove that he is guilty.
Sure.
And Piglet's like, well, I just think he is. I mean, he just seems guilty. And Angriest cuts him off. And he's like, look, I don't have any feelings one way or another, but here are the facts. And he pulls out this little notebook.
Yes.
And he points out the facts of the case. So we find out an old man heard a fight. He heard, I'm going to kill you.
Yep.
He heard a thump, which was the body. And he saw the boy running out. Now, I'm just as sentimental as the next fella. But these are the facts. I love Lee Cobb in this movie. He's so good.
He's so obnoxious, but it's good.
I love it. He's
it's great.
Angry.
Oh my, he gets angrier and angrier. It's great.
By the end of this, he is just shouting at the top of his lungs.
Oh my god.
So he says, like, he has to pay for what he did, in his opinion. So then they go to the broker, and the broker is very analytical. Mm-hmm. He's very straightforward. He sits there with his coat on. I think he might be the only one that never takes his coat
on. I think he doesn't sweat is one of the things that comes up. But yeah, he takes the emotion out of it, and he's only thinking facts, period.
Yes. So he says he thinks...
Which is one way of thinking of things, but sometimes you need to have that emotion in there.
I mean, even the facts are what sway him, technically.
Yeah.
The broker says the boy's story was flimsy. He went to the movies, he couldn't remember what he saw, he couldn't remember who was in it. And Bigot interrupts because he says, well, the woman across the street saw it. That should count for something. So he just interrupts and he goes on a tangent of like, she knows his whole life. She swears she saw him do it. He's saying that the prosecution proved that you could see through the L train.
Right. Yes.
At night.
Right.
If there weren't people on
because
it.
Of the light go through it. Yeah.
Yeah. So even though she was on the other side of the tracks, you could still see through it if the lights were on, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's the train it was like the train going between the two buildings, and she lived across the way from the kid and his dad, and then the old man lived above?
No, I don't know.
No, I think the old man lives below the
old
dad
man lives
and the
below.
Son. Right.
Yeah, and the woman lived across the street.
Okay. Well, I just gotta paint the picture.
Yeah.
We don't get to see it.
We need to know the facts. You need to know the facts to decide the case.
Yeah, by the end of this, I want you guys to tell us if the kid is guilty or
not.
not.
Who killed Father Karras was an 8-year-old girl. They say she was possessed
by the demon
Pazuzu.
Pazuzu. I am Pazuzu.
Don't do that. That still scares me.
It scares me.
Little...
You just don't let him in. You never let him in.
Let's just put a quote.
You always say no.
That cut right here. She wouldn't have been playing with that fucking Ouija board.
You know what?
Anyway.
Yeah. Never fuck with.
Yeah, we're gonna
things.
do that one day, but I don't know how we're gonna do that.
I don't know. That's gonna be a scary episode.
So anyway, where were we? So Peter Fonda. So Henry Fonda asks Ed Begley. Rachel's just laughing every time I call them by their descriptors.
It's so hard not to.
Rachel's like, I wanted it to just be 8, 10, 12, but it's easier to keep in mind who they are.
Every time you say bigot, it just makes me laugh, because I would have called him the sick one, so...
Well, you can. It's the same thing.
No, I just think it's funny.
So he says to him, let me ask you a question. Why do you believe her story, but not his?
Mm-hmm. She's
one of them, too, isn't she? And Bigot, looks like, oh, you smart guy.
Yeah,
because you know that... But he's right. He's, calling him out on it, right?
Of course.
In a way where it's like, I'm using your words against you.
Right.
Now, good luck trying to do that in this day and age. Someone's just going to dig in deeper.
Yeah.
But we have to all...
does. He doesn't really say anything, but he does kind of dig himself a little deeper.
He admits defeat by going back and sitting down.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, somebody else would have just, kept talking, and you're right.
As a society, as people, as... human beings that should try and continuously try to do better and make yourself better and make others around you better. We have to admit when we're wrong.
Yes.
I think there's too many people that don't...
you can be wrong. You can make mistakes and get better.
Yes. I think a lot of people have a problem with admitting that they're wrong. And I think a lot of that is because a lot of leaders don't ever admit that they're wrong.
Oh, yeah.
For whatever reason. And I think it's a bad mentality that needs to be weeded out, because it's the only way to make yourself better.
Right. No, I agree.
Slum guy passes. He doesn't want to say.
Yeah, he's kind of timid. He doesn't want to say anything.
Yeah, he just doesn't. He doesn't want to say anything.
Mm-hmm.
Painter says he was looking for a motive. So he says the testimony from the people across the hall said that there was a fight. There was an argument of the fight at 8, and he couldn't hear what it was about, but they know that there was a fight. I thought that they do a good job of keeping this part natural, because they're all kind of talking over each other.
Right. Henry
Fonda kind of talks over him and is like, well, it doesn't prove anything. And I thought Painter actually makes a good point here. He's like, it doesn't prove anything, but it's part of the picture.
Right. It's part of the story. You gotta you have to paint a bigger picture, which of course he's the painter. So if he's thinking about it that way,
yeah,
sure.
That's actually a good point, Rachel.
Yeah.
It's a good fucking screenplay. So, bravo.
Good job.
So he says well, he got slapped and all these slaps happened, so that would be a problem. And 8 says, well, why would these slaps be any different than the others? He gets beat by his dad every day.
Right.
So why would this one be any different? And Broker says, well, maybe these are too many, which is a fine point.
Which happens, and
yeah,
it could absolutely be that, but now you have to prove that.
Right. You have to prove that. On to the salesman. He says everything's already been said. And he goes into the fact that he had a record. So he stole a car. He was arrested for mugging. He was in a knife fight. 8, again, says, well, he's been beaten since he was 5. He lives in, a shitty area and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm. And they do say priors don't really
Priors should not matter.
It shouldn't matter what's going to happen next.
There might even be counties or states where you aren't allowed to mention the priors.
Right.
Because they aren't supposed to matter. You're not talking about those cases.
Right.
You're talking about this case.
Right. So it's interesting.
Angriest dad gets up and he says, this is just the way that kids are nowadays. It's these kids. It's the kids' problem. It's this It's these baby boomers.
Oh, it would be the baby boomers.
I had to think about that for a second.
It would be the boomers.
Yeah, so...
Damn boomers.
Nothing changes because literally...
And does never change. That's just a generational thing.
Or I guess it could also be that, is it not the silent generation? What's that generation that was born during World War II? I can't remember.
I don't remember. That's probably the unremembered generation.
But his point is like, all right, it's these kids now, these damn kids. Because when we are 80 years old, we're going to be saying those damn kids. 80 years old from then, people are going to be saying these damn kids. It's what people do.
It is.
But he says that back then, he called his dad sir. Nobody calls their fathers sir anymore. 8 responds with, fathers don't think that's important anymore. And he says when his son was 9, he ran away from a fight. Was embarrassed by that. And he said, I'm going to make a man out of him. So I beat the hell out of him, is kind of what he's inferring.
Well, yeah. And, well, he brings this up because of the picture in his wallet, right?
Yeah, he takes it out to show 8.
Oh, yeah.
His strategy is to kind of, like, try to become buddies with, or try to find common ground with him. So he's like, we're both dads, because Henry Fonda's like, I have 3 kids. Mm-hmm. So he's like, I have a kid too. Like, here he is. He's 22 now.
And he doesn't talk to him.
Yes. When he was 16, they had a fight, knocked him in the jaw. He hasn't seen him in 2 years. So we get this backstory. And I love that after he says it, and they kind of move on to talking about other things, the camera stays focused on angry dad.
Right.
He walks away from it, and he's just staring at the picture, and he's, like, looking in the corner of the picture. So,
it's
you
sad.
Get an idea
of
kind of where
sad.
he's coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I'm wondering, with like this whole case and everything too, if he's drawing a parallel with the beatings and the kid.
Well, but I mean, in the 50s, beating your kid, that was just customary.
Sure, but at the same time, they're even saying it's kind of like, that's not like super normal. Like,
no, I think it's actually interesting because we make fun on Shelf Life of, back in the day, you could just backhand that motherfucker down and you tell him who's boss.
Right.
But
you just slap a kid if they're bothering you.
You just box their fucking ears. You walk down the street just to tell them that you're older,
Right.
But, I mean, I do think it's interesting that they kind of point out that, like, no, that's not normal.
That's actually not normal.
Yeah, in this. So they kind of break that convention a little
right.
bit. So they kind of say, like, okay, let's say he's just a product of this broken home. He has a criminal record because he's from the slums. These are just how people are in the slums, right?
Yes.
This is what Broker is saying.
He's probably thinking of
like,
statistics and everything, too, in the way that's
exactly,
working.
Yes. He's bringing up statistics and saying, like, people from the slums commit more crimes and all of that kind of thing, which we've heard ad nausea. It's fascinating that this movie is 65 plus years old and it's the same bullshit today that you hear. It's just fascinating.
Yeah.
Because nothing will change.
Well, we hope it will, but
progress takes time.
It takes
long.
long.
I believe that you have to let progress take its path. If you try to force it, you end up
pushing it the other way.
Problems that we have now too. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I of course I want it to be more progressive, but you have to have you need to unfortunately believe in people and hope that as they come to an understanding,
it comes to that
slow.
Same thing again, where you have to have conversations, you have to realize that you can make a mistake and
that
you can learn from your mistake, and you can't just like say, well, this is what they thought 10 years ago, well then fuck them. Yeah. It's well, they can learn from that though. They can learn from thinking that way, and they might think differently now.
There are people that you can't help, but there are people that you can.
But if those people would like
just...
realize, wait, I can actually say I made a mistake, I can learn from it and move on. Yes, and same with the other people who are saying you made a mistake. Well, you can let them learn and grow.
Right.
Shelf life lessons.
There you go. Shelf life. So
there you go.
It's a very lesson-heavy episode. Bigot says that the kids that come out of the slums are trash, like out of those places or whatever he says. And Slum Guy, this is where we find out that Slum Guy lived in a slum his whole life.
Right.
And he, like, maybe you think I smell like garbage because I grew up in terrible neighborhood. I've always been there and stuff. Foreman says, like, well, don't get personal. Don't be, like, sensitive about it. And ad man says the same thing. And immigrant is like, no, I get it. I know why you're sensitive about it.
Right. And it's kind of hard not to be sensitive about something like that, especially when somebody's taking that bias and saying, well, it's because of this. And it's like, well, that's not how that works. You know?
Right. Bigot calls the foreman a kid. And Foreman gets mad at Bigot, tells him, well, then why don't you want it? If you want to do it, you be the foreman.
Mm-hmm.
And ad guy tries to, like, bring it back and kind of, like, calm everybody down. He's like, no, you're doing a good job. Just go back. We get a little bit of stuff from the foreman there of just kind of, like, he's like, yeah, I'm just trying to keep everything in line. Like, right. I don't know what you want me to do.
He's just like, I'm just trying to help.
Which is true. Trying to be the leader of it is a pain in the ass, because everyone is able to...
Being a mediator, horrible.
Yeah, because everyone is able to bash you, and your job is to keep everyone together, which is impossible to do.
Of course.
8 says everyone sounded so positive about the case that everything is for sure, everything is certain. And he's like, I just don't think everything is that certain. And the defense let little things go by. And they say, like, well, why would he have done that? Like, if he's the lawyer. And he's like, it's possible for a lawyer to be just plain stupid, which I enjoyed.
Or just, like, not wanting to do their job.
Yeah, I like that.
Does he say plain stupid, though?
Yeah, he says it's possible for a lawyer to be just plain stupid.
Oh, that's funny.
He put himself in the kid's place, and he's like, if I were the kid, I would have wanted a different lawyer. Somebody that would have tried to tear the prosecution through shreds. There was one eyewitness, there's a lot of circumstantial evidence, but they could be wrong.
Right.
Suppose they're wrong. They could be wrong. Like, he just wants somebody to say, like, is it possible that they could be wrong?
Right. Plus, that lawyer was probably given to him by the court, and he's, like...
Yeah, they say that. They say he was a court-appointed.
Right, because, like, the kid's not going to be able to afford a lawyer. Lawyers are expensive. And so if he's a court-appointed one...
Back in 1957, they probably cost a whole penny. Or a nickel.
Whole quarter.
A whole quarter.
I had it in my head because
I popped Rachel on that, yeah. Or she popped herself.
I popped myself because I had it in my head now that National Lampoon guy is in this. So.
Yeah.
I mean, I get his point, and I mean, like, yeah, you want somebody else to say, like, well, what if they're wrong? Like, they could be wrong.
I mean, they even go into a little bit here of saying the witnesses might not be right, and they're like, well. They swore under oath, and they're like, yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they saw it right. And Adman says, well, it's not an exact science being up there, and 8 goes, no, it's not. Like, that's my point.
Right.
Piglet wants to keep going, but Angry Dad wants to talk about the knife. So they ask for the knife, because they're like, he admitted to buying this knife, and Broker goes through the facts with the knife. He was hit several times, he bought a switch. It had a handle and a blade that was unique, and it was unique to the pawn shop where he got it, or whatever, wherever he said he went.
Sure.
He met his friends at 8:45. He left at 9:45. They ID'd the weapon as the knife, like it fit the wound or whatever.
Sure. Which, I mean, even nowadays, you can't really, like, it's like, well,
yeah,
more science nowadays, but, like, back then, it's kind of surprising that they were like,
you could get away. I feel like if you skipped town, you could get away with murder up until about 1948.
Oh, sure.
Like, if you murdered anyone before World War II, you could probably get away with it. Because what are they going to do? I think this is a comedian's bit, or somebody's bit, where I've heard, where it's like, what, are you going to show up, and they're going to be like... there's blood.
Yeah, they didn't like take stuff. They didn't even think about like DNA or anything. So it's like, well, this happened. It looks like it splattered this way, you know?
I feel like that there were probably a lot of unsolved murders back in the day.
Oh my god, yeah.
As he talks about this, as he talks about the knife and about the timeline, the camera slowly moves in on him. I think that's supposed to be one of those like claustrophobic movements, because it just keeps moving very slowly in on Broker, while Slum Guy is just kind of listening to. Again, it's very interesting because if you focus on any of the jurors that are in the shots, they're all using fantastic body language and different faces as they go through this. Again, why it would be interesting to see as a play,
right?
Probably. This is one of the most famous scenes in the movie.
Now, are you trying to tell me that this knife really fell through a hole in the boy's pocket? Someone picked it up off the street, went to the boy's house, and stabbed his father with it just to test its sharpness?
No, I'm just saying it's possible the boy lost his knife and that somebody else stabbed his father with a similar knife. It's just possible.
Take a look at this knife. It's It's a very unusual knife. I've never seen one like it. Neither had the storekeeper who sold it to the boy. Aren't you asking us to accept a pretty incredible coincidence?
I'm just saying a coincidence is possible.
And I say it's not possible.
Where did that come from? It's the same knife.
What you're doing?
The broker puts the knife into the table. Which, why did he break the table? That's not very good. But I mean, it's this cheap New York table, I suppose. Broker and Angry Dad are both like, see, there's no way. There's no knife like this. This is a unique knife. There's no way that this could be anything different.
Mm-hmm.
With that, 8 stands up.
Yes.
Takes out a switch, flips it open, and stabs it in the table. They're going back and forth, and Henry Fonda is like, I'm just saying it's possible. I'm just saying it's possible. So he has to be like, all right, fine, I'll prove it.
Let me show that it's possible.
And he puts the knife into the table.
Which, that wouldn't have been in his pocket nowadays. But
nowadays, it would not have been in his pocket.
No,
but back then,
you can't get
take
into there.
anything. This would have been, in real life, grounds for a mistrial.
Yeah, I think so.
Because juror number 8 did research outside of what was presented to him in the jury room.
Yes. Which
and you're not allowed to do that.
Well, they would have just replaced him? No, because he told every other juror now, too.
No, because he told all of them.
Damn,
so this would have been a mistrial.
Oof.
It's a great moment.
It is a great moment.
However, in real life, would not have been possible.
Right. But now they have 2 identical knives.
Yes, they have 2 identical knives because he was able to buy one from the same neighborhood. He says he walked through the same neighborhood. They're like, well, it doesn't prove anything. There's 10 more knives like that, but what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. And they're like, well, it could mean something. It could mean that he wasn't the one with the knife, or that somebody else had a knife like that.
Right.
And they're like, well, but the odds of that, and they're like, but it's possible. He's trying to say, does this raise reasonable doubt?
Right.
Piglet thinks that it was interesting.
I do like that. It's just interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah, I found that very interesting, Pooh. And, oh, Pooh, I thought it was very interesting. And Angry Dad's like, shut up for a second.
What do you mean
Let
it's
me go back to
this.
this.
Why is it interesting? Like that.
So he goes ahead and he says, go ahead and hang this jury. He's going to get another 12 guys, and they'll find him guilty. So Salesman says, fine, we'll just sit here and we'll play pinochle. And Piglet gets mad at him for joking.
Mm-hmm.
Bigot and Immigrant start fighting, because of course they do. And 8 just goes to the window, and he just stands there for a second. So there's this this break in the action, this moment of silence, right?
Right.
He calls for another vote. 8 does.
Yes.
And he says, I'll tell you what. You 11 vote by secret ballot. If they come back unanimous, he'll let it go. He'll say, I'm not going to hang us up. We'll just go with it, because he realizes too that they're probably right. If 12 other guys get this, he's gonna get guilty anyway. So a mistrial isn't gonna matter, or
right.
a hung jury. If anyone votes not guilty, they have to talk it out.
Sure.
So they're like, fine, that works for us. We're gonna do that.
all in agreement. See what happens. It does feel like a moment. Like the second he's like, okay, we're doing another vote, it's like a moment. Like
yes,
there's something about now that. It's like okay. We hit another pause. This is pivotal.
It comes at exactly the 30-minute mark of the movie, probably too. So I think that's
weird.
probably.
I like it.
Well, that's called screenwriting.
That's right.
So
good job.
They agree.
Mm-hmm.
There's a shot of them passing the papers along. They all don't want to be they're all trying to put it on the top of the pile or the bottom of the pile so that nobody can tell.
Oh yeah, sure.
Which one is theirs.
Mix them up a little bit.
They go through one by one until they get to the not guilty. And the foreman even stands up and is like, not guilty. So it's 10-2. Bigot wants to know who it was. He immediately gets all pissed off.
Of
and
course.
He's like, all right, fine, tell me who was it? Who was it? Which one of you did it? Which, of course, is exactly the opposite of what they said they were trying to do.
Right.
And Immigrant Juror 11 says it should remain a secret. If the gentleman wants it to be a secret, that's what we agreed to. And Angry Dad is like, I know who it was. I'll tell you right now who it was. And he starts pointing at Slum Guy.
Yep.
Because he's like, it had to be him that turned. Because he's saying all this stuff about somebody that...
So what, did you feel emotional and you feel connection and it's like, all right, ass.
So Slum Guy is like, you can't talk to me like that. You're a dick.
Yes.
And Broker's like, he's very excitable. Just let him go. And this is the first like outrageous anger that Angry Dad gets, because he's like, we're listening to fairy tales with a box of scraps. Oh, that would be a good one.
Ooh,
Jeff Bridges? Yeah.
I could see it.
One. The old man is like, it wasn't him, it was me.
Oh my god, this zoom up shot of him, though.
This is the weirdest shot in the whole movie.
I hate it. He looks like a leprechaun.
He looks like an elf or something.
I'm so glad we thought the same thing. Why does he look like a fairy tale creature?
Yeah, I
hate this zoom. I hate this zoom. I don't know if he doesn't know where to put his eyes because the camera's straight in his face, but he's like cross-eyed and like it's right up in there.
Right up in there. So he says he isn't sure if he's guilty or not, but he wants to support this man because we haven't convinced him yet. And if we haven't convinced him yet, we can't really go back and say he's guilty because we have to hear more.
Right,
we have
it's not
to convince
fair.
him. Our job is to convince him.
Mm-hmm.
The salesman is like, fuck this, and he walks into the bathroom.
Yes.
And old man gets angry, and he's like, hey, I'm talking here. And 8 says another great line.
Great line.
He can't hear you, and he never will.
Isn't that sad? That is a sad line.
That's a great line.
It's so great, but it's sad.
So the foreman is like, all right, you know what? Let's take a break. They go to a word for their fake sponsor.
That's right.
And the thing with the old man was unexpected. The ad exec says, he's like, hey, we're like really hung up here. So the ad exec talks about like random crap now. We find out that the immigrant is a watchmaker.
Mm-hmm.
Angry tries to apologize to Slum Guy. Slum Guy just walks past. And I made note of this, and I told Dad I was going to mention this when we recorded. Because Dad goes...
Okay, I'm excited. We get Dad's thoughts on this one.
Dad goes, tell him to fuck off.
I mean, honestly, though, his silence is saying fuck off. So yes, you are correct, Dad.
It's the 1957 equivalent of telling him to fuck off.
In real life, he would have turned to him and said fuck off.
I couldn't tell now because 8 goes into the bathroom now with Salesman, and I wasn't sure if he's trying to build a bridge here between him and Salesman.
Yeah, maybe a little. Maybe a little.
Something.
He probably also could use a break. You know, everybody kind of just needs a break. But I think you're right. I think when he sees him and tries to like talk to him, then he is trying to like build a bridge a little bit.
Yeah. Salesman talks about being a salesman. We find out that number 8 is an architect, but I like Salesman better. He tells Juror 8 that he has the soft sales pitch down. But that's not how he does it. He does jokes and tricks and stuff. He lies here.
Uh-oh.
He has to lie.
Uh-oh.
Because he says he sold $27,000 worth of marmalade. That's the equivalent of like $250,000 or something.
Oh my god.
In today's money?
Good lord, that's a lot of marmalade.
There's no way that he made that much money. Now, I wondered if that's what the revenue was and he made commission on that, which is possible.
Maybe, yeah.
But that's still a lot of marmalade.
A lot of marmalade. Yeah, they could be selling it to stores and stuff, though.
Yeah, maybe so maybe he made commission on that amount of money. He tells
I have
8...
a thing. Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on.
Okay.
This bathroom...
Apologies.
This bathroom, weird.
It's a gigantic bathroom,
It's a gigantic bathroom, right? So there's, like, multiple stalls in this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Why do they all stand on the side of the sink when they use the sink? Is it just because of, like, the shot? Like, I think it's just because of the shot.
Gotta be just because of the shot.
Or is that, like, a thing? Like, you stand on the side of the sink because you don't want it to splash you? Like... And then...
Folks at home from 1957, please let us know.
And then this towel is gross.
Yes! This towel is disgusting. Go ahead.
It, like, you pull it, and the other side goes back into the machine, and he puts his face on it. And so I'm like, oh!
Oh, I almost choked on my own, like, Adam's apple. Hang on.
But it's like they're all wiping their hands on this weird towel that you pull it goes back into the machine. And it's like, that's a public restroom, and you just put your face on that.
Okay,
I had to talk about it for a second. Yeah,
I appreciate that observation, Rachel. I truly do, because I I didn't notice that until this viewing where I was like, is this does paper just go back into this machine?
I think it's literally cloth.
Yes, probably.
And I think that's so gross.
It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. It's the grossest thing in the entire movie.
Yeah.
Salesman says that the do-gooders are all alike. They're just wasting everybody's time. Why don't you just donate some money to the cause? Painter walks in.
Yes.
And Painter says, I think he's guilty for sure, but I don't mind because it beats working. Because he works with his hands. He's a painter.
Mm-hmm.
He's, and he says, like, I really think he's guilty. Do you think he's, like, what makes you think he's not guilty? And he says, well, I just think it's possible he's not guilty.
Right.
And Painter says, I don't think you've ever been wronger in your life. And I like this moment. Because Painter says, suppose you talk us all out of it. And he did do it. And he walks back into the room. And it makes, it gives Aid a moment to pause here.
It does.
I like that. Because up until this entire point, and quite frankly for most in the entire movie, you're under the assumption that Henry Fonda is right.
Yes,
but
you
like
assume this. It makes you question it.
Yeah, and I like the idea too, because, spoiler alert, he's, they find him not guilty, but there's still the possibility that they're wrong.
Right.
And I like that Painter kind of makes him confront it a little bit of like, what if you're wrong? What if you convince us all and we end up letting... We don't do the justice here.
Right. You don't do the legal part of it. Now, if we don't know the whole story about this kid, right? And everything. We don't know if he would, if he did kill his dad, right? And he did hit a breaking point and he killed his dad because he was being beaten and he probably beat his mom too when she was alive and all of that kind of crap, right? We don't, technically, he probably wouldn't go out and just murder everybody then, but, because that was probably just, like, that moment.
Well, it doesn't, but that doesn't matter.
I know, I'm just saying.
It doesn't matter if that mattered, then, like, there would be no, like, gang members, because it's like, well, they're only a threat to each other, so just fuck it.
Well, it's like all those motivational type things. It's like the motivation and all of that kind of stuff behind it, right? But...
Right. Yeah.
Right. So he's guilty, but he gets off for this. Like, he might turn his life around. He might not.
He might turn his life around. My guess is it's more of a...
We don't know.
Yeah, he probably gets arrested for something else or something. Yeah, like
right.
Yeah. But that's not the job.
That's not the
jury.
job. You're right. But it just makes you think about the whole story. I always want to know the whole story. I'm always more interested. I'm the painter, damn it. I want to know everything.
Yeah. 8 tries to bring up the idea of the train. And he notices that Ad Guy and Angry Dad are playing tic-tac-toe.
Oh my God.
And there's a group of them that are ignoring him.
So
he gets
rude.
mad and he takes the paper away. And then Angry Dad gets mad at that.
Right.
They talk about how it takes 10 to 12 seconds for a train to get past any given spot, like past an apartment. He walks around the table, 8 does, talking about how the train takes 10 or 12 seconds. He's asking different guys, does that make sense? Does that sound right?
Right.
He's doing it right
Trying
between
to understand
Broker.
the math of it.
Yeah, he's doing it right between Broker and Angry Dad, and Lee Cobb has this, like, look of contempt on his face that's really funny. The train goes by, you can't hear anything, which is true to this day. If you live by a train station and the train goes by, you can't hear anything.
Yeah, they're so loud.
Old man says he heard the fight upstairs and a thump, while the woman across the street saw it as the train passed by. Mm-hmm. Therefore, the train had to be roaring while the body hit the floor. How did he hear it?
Right.
And they say, like, well, I can't remember who says it. I think maybe it's Angry Dad. It might be something, or I think it's, like, something around the idea of, like, Angry Dad says, like, well, you're talking about a matter of seconds. Like, how could... Nobody can be that accurate.
Right.
And they just, like, let it pause. Because it's like...
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the point.
Exactly, that is the point. I loved that moment, because it was, like, a heavy, like, oh, wait. You just said the point.
The old man wants to say something about the old man witness. Mm-hmm. So juror number 9 wants to say something about the old man witness.
Yes.
The Angry Dad doesn't want to talk about it. Painter gets mad at him. Tells him he'll knock him out if he talks bad to an old man again. And they ask why the old man might have lied. Juror 9 goes into this soliloquy.
Does the weird
about
close up again.
Yeah, there's a weird close up again, but it zooms in on him again to make him feel claustrophobic. And he talks about how he had a torn jacket. This guy probably never mattered. He can't walk. He was dragging his leg.
Right.
Nobody cares about this guy, so this might be the only time that somebody actually listens to him.
Yeah, he wants attention. He wants somebody to pay attention to him.
They're like, okay, but that doesn't mean that he lied. It's like, well, I don't think he tried to lie. He just wanted to do something important.
Yeah, he wanted to be a part of the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe he did hear somebody running down the stairs, but...
He doesn't know who it was running down the stairs.
Right.
Necessarily, yeah. Bigot says, well, what do you know about it? And he just kind of shakes his head. Because I couldn't tell if old man was, like, shaking his head because he's old and he was, like...
I feel for him. I understand.
Flustered?
Yeah.
Or was it because... Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah. Or does he understand? Or, yeah, exactly. Piglet goes to get cough drops because it's the 50s, and in 50s, cough drops were just candy.
It's like a Tic Tac. Here's your Tic Tac.
You want a cough drop, Pooh? So 8 says sure. We go back to it. So suppose he did hear it. Why does saying I'm going to kill you mean anything? And they're all like, people say I'm going to kill you all the time. I tell Rachel I'm going to kill her all the time. I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah, constantly.
Piglet says he kind of agrees because he yelled at a coworker, called him an idiot or something. He didn't mean it.
I can't picture Piglet yelling.
Yelling at anybody?
Yeah, he must have
I don't think it's possible.
Mad. Like they must have he must have like snapped to be angry. Like I just can't see him yelling at somebody.
Well, no, because he's Piglet.
He's so mousy. Well, he's more rabbity. Or Piglet?
He's more of a pig. A great line here, because Bigot says, he don't even speak English good. And Immigrant corrects him and says, doesn't. He actually should have said, doesn't speak English well. Like he... Oh, no, because he says he doesn't speak good English. So I guess that is the right use of the word good, yeah.
He don't speak good English.
Point, Slum changes his vote to not guilty.
Right.
And he says the lawyer probably didn't help much because he's a public defender. He doesn't give a shit, like we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Salesman wants out, but Immigrant made notes. So the Immigrant wants to talk about some things. He goes over the timeline of the cops arresting him. And actually, Mom and Dad were like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, they were almost, like, engrossed in it at this point.
It's kind of hard not to be, though.
It's a very
because you kind of feel like you're
movie.
A part of it. So now you want to know the facts, too. You want to understand what the timeline is. And you
really do start to become, like, into it. Even the small moments. You're, like, waiting for what's going to happen next. So he goes over the timeline, and he says the cops arrested him. Why did he come back? Why would he have come back to the house or the apartment? Wouldn't he have been afraid to get caught? And the exec says, well, he wanted to get the knife. The broker says he had to get it before the police came. But why would he have left the knife?
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying to convince him that, like, well, he was in a panic, so he left the knife because he was in a panic. But Immigrant points out, like, there were no fingerprints on the knife. So he was calm enough. This is actually the best evidence,
interesting.
I think.
Yes.
Because he's like, he was calm enough to wipe the blade down.
Right.
But he was in a panic enough to leave it? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, wait a minute. I like this part too, because this is obviously good for these times too. Because somebody says, well, wait a minute, why are you asking these kind of questions? You voted guilty. And the Immigrant guy says, I don't have to be loyal to one side or the other.
Exactly.
I'm trying to figure out the facts. I'm asking the questions. I'm asking you, what are the facts here? What is the right, real thing? Now,
it's so interesting.
Some people hide behind saying that, and they'll say, like, I'm just asking questions, but they're really, like,
they just
gaslighting.
Want to play devil's advocate, and they're trying to
they're
be
dog
rude.
whistling, or they're gaslighting, trying to get... But if it done correctly...
You can ask those questions.
Asking questions.
Yes.
Yeah. You shouldn't be asking questions to stir up people. You should be saying, what are the facts? Now, the facts aren't bring on Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless and have them debate each other. The facts should be, okay, do we all agree on this? Okay, let's move on.
Right.
Sometimes it's hard to get people to agree that the sky is blue. And then you're never going to get past there.
Right.
They try to tell him, like, well, maybe the body wouldn't have been discovered until the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And the Immigrant's like, well, that's the whole point, though. Like, why would you go back? If it wasn't going to be discovered, you could have waited.
Right.
Or you could have, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
he could have gotten away.
Like, well, the woman
he could have left.
and screamed. But they're like, well, if the boy heard a scream, though, then he knew that somebody saw it.
Right. And
the
like, train was going by.
Yeah, maybe he didn't hear the scream, though. So they're like, well, did the old man see it or not? Like, he says he did. And they're like, oh, well, witnesses can make mistakes. And Bigot says, well, witnesses make mistakes when you want them to. They're like, well, we're forgetting all the important stuff. 8 calls for another vote. So we get another vote here. They gather him up again. And Piglet's like, well, it only takes a second to vote. Immigrant changes to not guilty.
Mm-hmm.
I thought a good zoom in on him. Because while they're doing the vote, it kind of zooms in on Immigrant on Juror 11.
Yeah.
Because it like is like supposed to be like, I'm thinking about it.
Right. You can see the switch. Like.
Yeah. And I'm convinced now that there's reasonable doubt.
Mm-hmm.
And they ask him to tell him why you changed your vote. And he's like, I have reasonable doubt now. I
feel doubt. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not beyond reasonable doubt. Angry Dad tries to use the knife to be like, this was the knife. This is the knife that he put in him.
But
and they're like, that's not the knife.
Because the actual knife was given back to the bailiff.
Right. They gave it back to the bailiff.
And again, there was like a heavy pause. And he's like,
So they're talking a little bit again, and Salesman says, well, remember the old man says that he ran to the door and you saw him.
Mm-hmm.
And Slum Guy's like, wait, say that again. Kind of, because he's like, you said he ran to the door.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, he
he's
said he went to the door. And they're all kind of like, well, wait, did he say ran to the door? Because then they're all kind of figuring out where this is going.
He went to the door.
Yeah. And they're like, no, he said he ran to the door. Slum Guy starts to think, and 8 says, well, we need a diagram of the apartment.
Which is so interesting. I didn't even think about, like, having a diagram of the apartment. That must be something in evidence, then.
Yeah, that it's in evidence, because then they can, like, bring it in.
Right.
Yeah. So they want to see if they can get to the front door in 15 seconds, and they try to figure out how long that is, and and again, he baits Angry Dad into something, because he's like, what's the difference between 15 seconds and 20 seconds? It doesn't matter. He's an old man. He was confused about everything. He can't get anything right. He's confused.
How can he be positive? How could he know he was right? It's like,
yep.
Here it goes
so
again.
It's like, you kind of fell back into your own thing there. I said it is like arguing with people nowadays, except they won't.
Well, that's what he's doing.
Get there.
He's
true.
saying it, and then he's going, no,
shit,
that's wrong.
And then he has to come up
that's
with a new.
wrong.
Yeah. He has to keep convincing himself that he's right.
Yes.
In every other way. Yeah. 8 goes over the details. They bring in a diagram. They go over it, and they decide to do a demonstration. And they at first say, well, why didn't the lawyer bring it up? And it's like, well, he didn't bring it up because it would be bad for the case. Henry Fonda's like, no, he didn't bring it up because he would be badgering an old man.
Right.
And it would look bad to a jury. So why is he going to do that? Salesman says, what kind of a bum lawyer is he? And Henry Fonda's like, yeah, that's my point.
Exactly.
It says they keep kind of like getting there, yeah. So they set this whole thing up to see if they can do it in the same time that the old man says it took him to get to the staircase, where he saw the boy running down.
Right.
Piglet gets to do the watch. They do the demonstration.
Right. Oh, I do the same thing as Piglet does at this moment, too. I, made note of this.
Well, I have to wait for it to hit the... He's like Butters. He's
kind of
Piglet, but if he would have been younger...
similar, all right?
Butters, yeah. It's kind of the same character. Now I just want a shot-for-shot remake of 12 Angry Men with all of the South Park
kids! Have they not done that?
Works.
Have they not done that?
I don't think they have.
I'm kind of
Trey,
surprised.
Man, I know you guys are listening. Can you guys do a 12 Angry Men spoof?
Because that would they could actually make it. They could make it for now times.
Absolutely. Butters is Piglet.
Ooh.
Cartman is either Lee Cobb or Ed Begley.
Mm-hmm.
It could be either or. You get Token in there.
Oh my God, yes.
Stan.
The girls could go in
is
too.
Obviously 8. Kyle is 4. Like, because he feels bad because he's agreeing with Cartman, and then Cartman's like, we can get him out of this, Kyle. we can stop him, Kyle.
But then he says something about him being an immigrant or something, and then he goes, no, screw you. And then he, switches sides.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, and then Kenny's the slums guy, obviously.
Yes, exactly.
And then...
Wendy's the foreman. Matt and Trey, come on. Please.
I could totally see this working. It's like just the courtroom kids thing. Like, you know, when you have to do that in school. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was the defense for Jefferson Davis, which is a lot harder than the prosecution, let me tell you.
Oh my god. But anyways.
So they do the demonstration. You actually see, I think, I didn't look this up to see if this was real or not, but I think you see the camera in the shadows, because they do this kind of neat shot where they just follow Henry Fonda's feet.
Right, because he's doing the dragged foot, yeah.
But I think at one point you kind of see the camera in the shadows as it follows him.
Oh, jeez.
Kind of funny. So they do it, and he does it in 40 seconds or something like that.
Right.
So it's not nearly in the 15 seconds that they think it could be in. So they're like, maybe he thought it was the boy. Maybe it was the actual killer, but he didn't know who it was.
Right. You know, I didn't even think about that. Like, what if it was like the kid wasn't even there and it was like a different person?
Well, that's the kid. The kid says he's not there. He was at the movies.
Oh, right. He was at the movies. He did a double feature with his friends.
I think the problem is that it's like, who the hell else would have done it? I actually think he probably was guilty. It's just impossible.
He probably was, and then he probably did go to the movies as an alibi.
It's like watching Making a Murderer, where it's like, yeah, maybe that guy did it. But did they really prove that beyond a reason? You know, you never watched that one. You would just get angry if you watched that one.
I feel like I watched some version of it. Maybe I didn't watch the one you guys watched though.
I'm sure you've watched like some
I
story
probably watched
that's
some
like
story
that.
on him. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing that put podcasts on the map was Serial, which was all about this.
Mm-hmm.
Was witnessing were witnesses bad and all of that kind of thing.
Right.
Angry Dad is like, we're letting this guy slip through our fingers if we let him through. You know he's guilty. And he's like, are you his executioner? You've been on this entire time. I do love when he says, are you going to flip the switch? And he's like, you bet I would. And he's like, are you this public avenger? You're this executioner. He's like, I'm one of them, which I thought was a good line too. Because it's like, he views the jury as being the 12 executioners.
Right. Like, he gets to be that person that gets to rule out justice.
Mm-hmm. And he calls him a sadist, and he says, Angry Dad goes, I'll kill him! I'll kill him! Henry Fonda gets the last word again, because he goes, you don't really mean that, do you? Which was his point earlier as well.
And then all he had to do was say, oh yeah, and then just kill him, and then he proved it.
He just takes the knife and stabs. I guess I have to do it now to prove my point.
Exactly.
I'm gonna have to die of COVID just to prove you wrong. I'm gonna get COVID and die.
That's right. That's right.
Some people did that.
I know.
Good for them. So the bailiff comes in and asks if everything is okay, and they're like, yeah, just a little argument. And they're like, why are you so polite to the immigrant? The bigot asks the immigrant, why is he so polite? And the immigrant goes, the same reason you're not. It's how I was raised.
Oh, it's so good.
So fucking good.
It's so good. Slap right there.
At this point, they are all incredibly sweaty, except for the broker, because like you said, the broker...
Yeah, he says, I don't sweat. It's like, what?
Yeah, he says, I don't sweat, which is bizarre and very troubling at the same time.
Yeah, right? Oh my gosh.
They share a quick laugh for a second. The salesman's or the ad exec says something stupid or whatever. So they're like all trying to settle back down because the juror 11 immigrant guy is talking about how he's talking about what I've talked about already about like this is a democracy and it's a remarkable thing that we're doing here. We can't fight. We have to work together.
Right.
Which is we're just 12 random people that have to work together.
Yep.
It's a remarkable thing. And it truly is.
I mean, if you think about it, when you actually pull back and you think about it, it's like, oh yeah, it's actually kind of an interesting thought. I mean,
the problem is that people aren't educated enough or thoughtful, but it's a weird ass thing.
It is
to do.
It is.
It really is. They decide to do another vote while the storm starts. So a storm starts. They all kind of go to close the windows and stuff. Mm-hmm. It starts to get dark in there.
I know, yeah.
Which I like too.
Yes,
like it's
the
almost
lighting
like
changes and everything.
It's literally getting darker.
It's getting darker, and because like the storm is brewing, and it's like hitting a point now. It's like
So they decide to do another vote. Piglet changes his vote.
Yes.
And the painter changes his vote.
Mm-hmm.
So now they're stuck at 6-6. And they're saying, well, you can skew facts however you want. You keep coming up with this and you keep skewing facts. And it's like, yeah, that's the point, guys. Like, we're trying to figure out what is fact. Yeah.
Right.
But again, this is Painter's point, though, too, of like, you have to take all of these things to build the picture.
Right. You can't just look at one. Now you have to like kind of pull back and put them all together.
But to
like
our point earlier about like, well, is he, you know, trying to say it's not guilty or guilty? It's like, well, now that we're going over the facts again, it's more likely that he's not guilty, right? Like it's beyond reasonable doubt or not beyond reasonable doubt.
Right.
I liked the way that they did this juror poll as well, because they go one by one, so you get
you have the close-up of the person, and then you get to find out what they're gonna say.
Some of them are dragging on the cigarettes. They all are sweaty as shit.
Yes. It's dramatic.
Salesman and Piglet go by the window, and he asks him why he changed. The salesman asks Piglet why he changed, and he's like, I have reasonable doubt now. The bigot guy yells at him, and Piglet calls him a loudmouth, which is probably the Piglet equivalent of calling him a douchebag or something.
Right.
And the storm starts to come in. This was weird, and I didn't understand what this was supposed to be, other than getting a little bit more of Foreman's personality, because you just don't get a lot of it in this.
Right, yeah, he's very quiet.
Where Foreman and 8 have this moment talking about the rain, and like him being, we find out he's a high school football coach.
Right.
I didn't quite understand it, but I guess it's supposed to be like
he's a leader. He's a leader. It's showing actually like his role as being a leader and keeping a team together and having them work together. That's kind of his role as the foreman. And that's actually like, it's paralleling what he does in the world and inside this room. And I feel like at one point I felt like when he was getting mad and telling the other guy, why didn't you do it then? I feel like he's thinking he's failing at actually being that role. So that's probably why he's being quiet too.
Yeah. Okay, I'll give you that.
That's my interpretation.
No, that's good, because I didn't have one really. Like I couldn't. I was like, why is this included other than to give? Well,
because he even gives. I just saw this. He even gives when he's like, and it was down to 7-6, and it was like, that's very similar to the numbers in this room, you know, like.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, he could have said 6-6, but it might have been too obvious or something.
Right.
So you're thinking like he's paralleling the game.
And the team and what's they're going for the win type of thing.
All right.
Like,
all right, gives it a little bit of depth. There you go. Shelf life.
I tried.
That's what we do. Was that real or not? I don't know. Salesman starts throwing paper into the fan because he gets the fan to work. It happened to be on the same thing as the
switch.
Light.
Yeah.
He starts throwing like paper into it, and like it's like blowing out of the fan when he throws it in, because they're all just sitting there a little bit dejected, like now that they're stuck 6-6. Like what are they gonna do?
Right, they're just like frustrated now.
One of the pieces of paper ends up hitting the old man in the head, and I like the old man's reaction. He just goes, "That's a damn stupid thing to do."
I know.
Broker and Angry Dad talk a little bit.
Everybody's just so angry at this point. They're just so frustrated.
Oh, yeah. So angry and mad. Well, because they've been in there, they're hot as balls.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you have to wear a suit because it's
they're
the 50s.
Wearing
you
a
can't be comfortable.
Suit. Yes.
And if anyone out there has worn a suit
and
on
a tie.
A hot day, and a tie, God. Awful. It's awful. Like, thank God we live in a society where everyone looks like a fucking slob, because that would have just been terrible. Broker and Angry Dad are talking. He says, you know, when that tall guy tried to bait me in, that didn't count. And Broker says, well, he did an excellent job.
Yes.
I love how, like, undercut the juror number 4 will be, the Broker, of just like, yeah. Well, he got you on that one, didn't he?
Right.
Bigot comes back in because he was taking an angry shit, and he
course.
wants to declare a hung jury. And they're all like, some of them are like, I don't think the judge is going to go for that because we've been in here for like 3 hours. Like, we're not going to be able to just say the jury's hung. Like, I think you have to get to a really, like, you have to talk it out before they can say it's a hung jury. I would hope, anyway.
Yeah.
And they're kind of like, do you maybe not fully understand reasonable doubt? I think the immigrant says to Salesman, and they're like, or somebody, and they're like, oh, yeah, really? You're going to tell me about this? Bigot and Salesman are kind of saying this back and forth to each other. Like, they come over here, they're running for their life. Oh, Salesman says this. So he's got a bias against whatever we're supposed to put into the place of the defendant.
Right.
Which is analogous, of course. I think
Right.
it's supposed to be almost like Italian or something.
I think maybe. It's hard to tell.
Like that would have fit the times, but it could be Puerto Rican.
Oh my
like,
god, it could be anything.
Black, poor, Jewish, anything.
Mexican.
It wouldn't matter. Yeah, it could literally be anything. That's the point. So that's
Indian,
what keeps it...
Asian, literally
that's what keeps it,
anything.
Yeah.
It keeps it ambiguous so that like you could just kind of put your own.
Could use it any time. Yeah, it puts it in your own head,
right,
for your own bias.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, they come over here running for their life, and they tell us how to run the show. And then Bigot, of course, like agrees with that. 8 wants to go over something. I put an interesting camera on Broker, but with 8. It's behind Broker, and he's like smoking, but. Henry Fonda has got like a leg on the chair, and he's like, so it's framed very interestingly.
Oh,
it looks
yeah.
like a Twilight Zone shot.
It does.
Like,
I don't think Twilight Zone shot. Yeah.
Doesn't it? Like,
yes.
I don't think you would do this nowadays, but it looks like something we would have seen in a Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah, I feel like they use this. I feel like somebody did use this in a movie I watched that is newer, recent, like something more recent, and it was so with that dramatic. It was supposed to be super dramatic with like that zoom in and like the way everything was like stacked. So I think it's only used very minimally, if at all. Yeah, nowadays. No, I agree.
Wonder why.
I don't know.
They start going over the fact that he couldn't remember anything about the movies that he was supposed to go see. And Henry Fonda brings up the point that, well, they questioned him in the kitchen while the dad's body was in the other room. And he was able to name them in court and name all the stuff in court. And Broker's like, well, yeah, he was able to in court because he had 3 months, which is a very fast time for a murder trial.
Right.
But he had that time to be able to remember what he went and saw.
Right. Kind of sit and mull it over.
Now, I would have assumed that they could prove that as well of like what was showing that night, too.
Right.
Just kind of, so that might have been a bit of better. Henry Fonda then kind of goes like, okay, well, let me go back with you a few nights and see if you can remember everything.
Yeah, can you remember all the details of your own life?
Mm-hmm.
No,
so
I cannot.
He goes back. I can't. Most of the time, I can't remember what I had for dinner the previous
I'm
night.
like, wait, what did I do this morning?
The guys took me to a victory lunch for a fantasy football thing the other day at work.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, you have to go somewhere where it can be expensive because like you have to, it's you. So I was like, well, we'll go to like the steak place because there's like other stuff there. And one of them, and I was like, I didn't eat breakfast this morning. And they were like, well, what did you eat for dinner last night? And I was like, I don't remember. I literally was like, I don't remember.
I feel like I do that all the time. Anytime we want to eat something, I'm just like, what did we have the past like couple of days? Anyway.
Did that right on time. So they go back and forth about this, and he can't remember the details.
Yeah,
and
he starts getting a little bit more like
he gets some of the details wrong, and he actually sweats a little bit.
Yes. Well, he starts getting nervous, and I would think that he's getting it wrong more.
Right. Well, and that's his point too of like you're under duress a little bit, you're starting to sweat. That's when you got something wrong because you were like you had the focus on you.
It's like, oh wait, yeah, that's right.
And I like that they set up that he never sweats and that he started sweating here.
Mm-hmm.
Bigot asked for a cough drop, and Piglet is like, they're all gone.
I loved that.
He won't
Good
give
job,
it to
Piglet.
him. Yeah.
Stick it to him.
So if Piglet is Piglet, and then Eeyore would be juror number 5, I feel like. And then we've got juror number 8 has to be Pooh. The foreman is Owl, probably.
Oh, Rabbit's Angry Man.
Oh, yeah, probably.
Oh, yeah. No,
I don't
foreman
know
I don't think would be Owl. Owl would be 4.
That's possible. Or Rabbit could be 4.
I
Folks
guess
at home,
that's
figure
true.
this out for us, please.
Tigger is the
100 Acre
salesman,
Woods,
right? You said Tigger's the salesman.
Tigger's salesman. He could also be ad exec, but salesman works out pretty well for Tigger, I think. Who's biggest?
Or Mad Men. He could also be Mad Men.
He could be Mad Men.
Yeah. Half a lump
like
or a woozle.
Or Gopher.
Oh, I forgot about Gopher.
Well, that's because that's from the cartoon that we watched growing up.
That's true.
I don't think he's in like
he's
a lot of...
He's not an original, yeah. But no, Gopher could 100% be Bigot.
Yeah, and Rue's on trial. Alright, okay.
Whoa!
So, anyway.
What the hell happened in the 100 Acre Woods?
We did a South Park and a Winnie the Pooh riff. So now, he admits that he's wrong. We continue to go. We decide to go over the knife again. And the stabbing motion. Because somebody brings up, it might be Piglet, brings up that it's weird that he stabbed down when he's short.
Yes. Yeah, he wanted to talk about the knife. I found this was an interesting thought. I did like this.
Yeah. So
this was a really good conversation.
Very good. Very good.
It was a very good conversation about the knife.
So they're like, he's 5'7", the dad was 6'2", and Angry Dad's like, no, I'll show you. I'll show you why you would do that. He stands up there, he takes the knife. It's tense because I guess they think that Angry Dad's actually gonna stab 8.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Like, yeah, why would he do that?
Yeah, he's not gonna do that.
I don't know why he needs to have the knife out to show him this either.
No, like a pen or something would have worked, you know?
So he shows him it, and it's like, yeah, it's probable he would have done this. But then Slum Guy comes out, and he's like, no.
This is a switchblade. You don't hold it like that.
You're trying to do this so that it's quick. And he's like, I hate them. Like, you know, we had to grow up with these where I lived. Right.
Think about outsiders, people.
Yeah. So he's like, you don't do that. Yeah, it's just outsiders. It really is. Okay, so outsiders, you got Ponyboy. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Ponyboy's number 4. Okay. So anyway,
no.
Slum Guy shows that you don't do that with a switchblade. You go up.
Right.
With a switchblade. Because you want it to be quick and you go up. Because otherwise it defeats the purpose because you switch your hands.
Right.
To make it go down. Salesman says, I'm getting sick of this. I want to go home. I'm changing my vote.
Yeah, he's just like done. Do you think he's just changing it because he's fed up? Or do you think he was convinced and he didn't want to admit to being convinced?
To being wrong?
Yes.
It's possible.
Because I had that thought kind of go through a little bit. I was like, wait, is he actually like that? Or was he convinced of reasonable doubt? And now he's like, well, I'm not going to admit it, though.
It's possible. I'd like to believe that. I just don't know. I feel like they're showing him as not having that. Like, Angry Dad gets mad at him. He's like, that's not an answer. You can't just switch without, like, saying...
True.
Why? You can't... Or not switch without saying why. It's just that you can't switch saying, I'm sick of being here. And Juror 11, the immigrant guy, is like, no, Angry Dad is right. Like, all of us have at least said... We have reasonable doubt now. You can't just say, I want to leave and I want to go to the ball game. Mm-hmm. It's raining anyway. So the thing that makes your theory possible is that it's raining.
Right.
The game's going to be postponed. So he doesn't have this thing to go to anymore.
Right.
So I do wonder. I didn't get that. I'd have to watch it again.
To like, kind of, like watch his like mannerisms and stuff.
To see his mannerisms. I'll say this because when I was looking for background stuff on it, I saw the 1997 version.
Okay.
They do this exact same scene in the 1997 version. It's Tony Danza and Edward James Olmos.
Oh, okay.
The ending of that sequence, he's got the tickets on the table, and Edward James Olmos puts his finger on the tickets and he slides them back to Tony Danza. Almost like, fine, I'm convinced now.
Interesting.
Yeah,
But that might be their interpretation of this movie, you know?
Right.
So it's hard to say if they're in the right and that's exactly what it was, or was that just their interpretation of that character as well? So I'm just thinking it's an interesting thought to think like, okay, is he actually just like, whatever, I don't care anymore, or I'm not going to admit that I could be wrong.
But he says, like, I don't have to admit it. I don't think he's guilty. And 8 says, okay, let's do another vote.
Right. More votes.
Now the foreman and the ad exec turn. So now just Bigot, Broker, and Angry Dad are saying guilty.
Right.
At this point, Bigot has an outburst.
Yes.
Ed Begley gets
he has an outburst.
Chew on the fucking scenery.
Oh my god.
He goes on this racist rant, or bigoted rant, because we don't know what it is. It's just a bigoted rant.
I hate to say I love this, but I love this. You'll see.
Okay, well, and it's because of, again, I think this is where we're talking about, like, where if they're all supposed to represent different points of view of society, what happens is he starts talking about how all of these people are awful, and of course he's guilty, and you know, they're all drunks and they're all losers and all this stuff. As he says this, one by one, all of the other jurors get up, turn their backs to him.
Yes.
Or start to
and
ignore
stop
him.
listening. And it's panning out at the same time.
Yes, to show like how alone he's becoming.
Oh my god.
It's great cinematography.
It's like beautiful.
It's fantastic
chills.
acting. It's very performative, very artistic. Of course, you wouldn't do this in real life. You could see this on a stage.
Honestly, if people could do this, it might stop some stuff happening.
It's fantastic.
Oh my
god. It really
God.
is fantastic.
And he starts stumbling
point, yeah.
too when he talks
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, it's great. It's what should be done. Because this is the...
Don't give them an ear. They don't.
Yeah,
that's all they want.
It's he doesn't want to listen. He just wants to shout.
Right.
He just wants to have the attention on him. He just wants to be better than everyone, or say the most outrageous thing to be in charge or whatever.
Right. But if you stand up and you turn away,
you ignore them,
and you let him scream to the void,
putter his ass out. Yeah.
Let
him scream into the void. It relinquishes the power.
Yes, and I loved this scene.
And we have and your point, what you're saying, Rachel, is we shouldn't listen to these people. We shouldn't make a fucking article 8 times a day when these people say something stupidly outrageous, and the media runs with it and gives them more attention.
Right.
So then they do it again.
And then it just keeps.
And then they do it again.
And it's just a circle.
And then these podcasts come, and then they do it
and
again.
We do it again.
On the podcast. 7 is even ignoring him. The salesman's even ignoring him.
Yes.
4, Broker, is sitting at the table. Bigot says, "You got to listen to me." And Broker says, "I have listened. Now sit down and don't say anything else."
So good.
It's so
He's
good.
like, "Yeah, I listened. All right."
Yeah, I listened to you. You have nothing of value to say. Fuck off.
Yep.
This is another fuck off. And they literally make him fuck off.
Yes.
It's very, again, it's very,
I mean, at this
over
point,
the top.
Yes, it's very over the top. It's very, now go sit in the corner. Like,
but he gets up,
get a timeout.
Sits at a different table that was there apparently in the corner.
This is your little timeout station.
And he's ignored. Yeah, and then the rest of them all come back to the table.
Yep.
Which is interesting. They literally tell a bigot piece of shit, fuck off. And they decide to do this without him.
Yes. And it's interesting, though, because now he's sitting in the corner, right?
He's
and
been
if you
banished.
watch... Yes, he's been banished. But he doesn't act as if he's still right.
No, he knows he's wrong because he's been banished.
Yes. He has that guilt on his face, and he's, like, just wallowing in, like, thinking now.
Yes.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. And Ed Begley never says another word in the movie, either. He shakes his head no.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it.
Yeah.
So it's great. Prejudice obscures the truth, says Henry Fonda. He gets a little soliloquy here where he says no jury can really declare somebody guilty unless they're sure.
Mm-hmm.
Which is true, which is why it really should be very, 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 very hard to actually call somebody not guilty, or to call somebody guilty because of reasonable doubt and the burden of proof on the state.
You have to remember, too, the whole point is that they're innocent until proven guilty. And a lot of people go into it thinking they're guilty until proven innocent.
Sure. Yep. Absolutely. Prejudice obscures the truth. We can't understand how you guys are so sure that he is guilty. So Broker says there's 2 reasons. The woman saw it across the street. She described it as the knife going down. So it was just, he did it the wrong way. So what? Broker's like, to the ad guy, because apparently he's really easily swayed, is like, I don't understand how you're indecisive. The angry guy is like, you can throw out all the other evidence. None of it matters, except for the witnesses. And ad man changes his vote back to guilty. And they're like, why is this so personal for you, angry dad? Like, what's your beef here? So Broker takes off his glasses and starts rubbing his nose. He's like, well, let's get to 7. And if we can get to 7, we'll say, like, we're still kind of hung here or whatever. The old man then starts in, he interrupts him, and he's like, I'm sorry, like, I'm interrupting you, but I'm going to talk. I'm going to interrupt you here because I think this is important.
Right.
And he said the woman had the same marks on the side of her nose that the broker did. Now, for a lot of people back in the day, glasses were a pain in the ass to wear. Because do they still do a lot of them still have that?
Yeah.
Okay. Because, like, mine don't have that.
Mine
I never
don't,
had that
but that's
problem.
because I don't want them anymore. I specifically look for the ones that don't have the
awful.
little pads.
Because well, like, Ad Exec doesn't have the pads, but I only wear mine, like, sometimes, and they don't have the pads, because, like, they'd be terrible. I can't even wear my glasses, like, for a couple of days in a row, or, like, it really hurts my nose.
Sure.
But it marks up your nose, for those of you that don't wear glasses. Noses get permanent marks from just having glasses on all day.
Right.
They kind of are like, well, she had those marks, and if she got up from bed and she looked out the window, would she have been wearing her glasses? Probably not, unless she went and grabbed the glasses.
Right.
And she came into court not wearing the glasses.
Which means that she doesn't probably wear them all the time.
All the time.
But if she has them on her face like that, then she probably needs them.
Right. Right, because if she has them on enough that it puts the indentation in.
Exactly.
So, because of this, Broker realizes, and I love that you kind of, like, get to realize it.
Yes, he has, like that epiphany.
He sits there realizing that he's wrong, yeah. Mm-hmm. And they're like, is there anything else that could make those marks? And they're like, no. And so he's like, I was wrong. Bigot shakes his head and says he's not guilty.
Right.
Adman says he's not guilty. He has reasonable doubt now.
Again.
And Piglet, because Angry Dad is like, but what about all the other evidence? Like, fine, that piece of evidence doesn't work, but what about all the other evidence? And Piglet's like, well, you said you can throw out all the other evidence.
Right. So again, foot in his mouth.
Now we're at 11-1 against Angry Dad.
Yep.
This is where I didn't like what Henry Fonda does, Rachel.
Okay.
I'm going to explain this. Because
go ahead.
he says to Angry Dad, you're alone. And they all sit there in silence almost to try to, like, pressure him.
Yes.
They didn't do that to you, Henry Fonda. They let you have your say, or they explained it to you. So it almost feels like...
I think...
Is it just because of, like, the decorum that he was using?
Potentially. I think it's also, though, that he realizes, like, okay... You have proved yourself wrong multiple times. You've put your foot in your mouth multiple times, and you're still saying guilty. Why?
Yeah. Like, we've debunked all of this evidence. What else do you have?
Yes. So I think that might be why. Now, I agree. It does feel very, like, peer pressure-y. And, it, like I said, at times it does feel like he does that, and so it's kind of like they're all ganging up on this last guy. Yeah. But I think that's why? It's just because it's like, you're not saying anything of substantial anymore. Everything you say is now flipping it, and, like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, are you sure that's really what you mean? You can say you're wrong. It's okay to be wrong.
Yeah. I actually, I think that actually helps me, too, what you said. Because I was just like, man, what is, like, Henry Fonda, what are you doing? Like, but in that, the way that you framed it, does keep it where these guys are like, we've went through everything, and after we went through everything, we think it's not guilty, as opposed to you who didn't want to go through anything and were like, no, we're all guilty. So yeah, that helps me keep him as the number 2 hero on AFI's top 100 list.
Well, what do you want? I say he's guilty.
You want to hear your arguments?
I gave you my arguments.
We're not convinced. We want to hear them again. We have as much time as it takes.
They want to hear his argument. Angry Dad's argument. Angry Dad says, everything says he is guilty based on the courtroom. Everything that we heard. Take the stuff about the old man and all of this stuff, and he starts going on a rant.
Right.
Now, technically, he's right about a little bit of something. They should not have been allowed to talk about the indentations in the witness's nose. That has nothing to do with what was presented in court.
Right.
That's an assumption that they're making. That's not evidence that was presented in court.
Exactly.
So again, that's probably something that would have caused
issues.
Mistrial or something. Yeah. Actually, I saw this in the IMDb trivia, and I think I saw it somewhere else too, where Sotomayor, one of the justices of the Supreme Court, said that this is a movie that she has always gone back to, and when she was like a circuit judge or whatever, she would tell the jury, don't use 12 Angry Men as an example of what to think about as evidence, because they use a lot of stuff that you shouldn't use as evidence. But for the purposes of the movie and the story and the purposes of negotiation, conflict resolution, and teamwork and all of that stuff, it makes sense.
Right.
So he starts to go on a rant. He's like, I've got the notes right here. And his wallet falls on the table because he's flustered. And there's a picture of him and his son again.
Right.
And they stare at him some more. And he's like, I'm not going to be intimidated. I'm entitled to my opinion. I can do whatever I want.
Everything. Every single thing that took place in that courtroom, but I mean everything, says he's guilty. What do you think? I'm an idiot or something?
Why don't you take that stuff about the old man? The old man who lived there and heard everything. Or this business about the knife. What, because we found another one exactly like it? The old man saw him right there on the stairs. What's the difference how many seconds it was? Every single thing. The knife falling through a hole in his pocket. You can't prove he didn't get to the door. Sure, you can take all the time, hobble around the room, but you can't prove it. And what about this business of the L? And the movies? There's a phony deal if I ever heard one. I bet you $5,000 I'd remember the movies I saw. I'm telling you, everything that's going on has been twisted and turned. This business with the glasses? How do you know she didn't have them on? This woman testified in open court. And what about hearing the kid yell? Huh? I'm telling you, I've got all the facts here.
He looks at the photo again, and he rips it up.
He rips it. It's kind of sad.
Of the photo of him and his son.
Yeah.
We get the point. I mean, we got the point at the beginning, but now, like, the point is shot home, where he realizes he's using his kid as a conduit. He's using this kid as a conduit of his own kid. He's disappointed that he doesn't have this relationship with his own kid. And he cries into his hands, and he says, not guilty, not guilty, not guilty. What an exciting jury room. My jury room wasn't this exciting.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, this would be so stressful to be in a jury room. Now, I do like that the 12 of them take it seriously, except for 7. Right. I do like that they all take it, they're taking it seriously, but...
Well, they weren't going to at first. I think they were all like, yeah, let's just get it done. And then they were convinced to take it seriously. That it's like, oh, yeah. Wait.
I told everybody that I talked to after that I went there, I was shocked at how everyone worked together in the jury that I served on. Mm-hmm. I was absolutely shocked because I just think of everyone as being stubborn and stuff. We all talked. We all worked together on it. It was something that I didn't expect from 12 random people to be able to do it. So sometimes it works, maybe, and I know sometimes it doesn't. There's a lot of shitty
I could see
juries.
It where it wouldn't work, but that's like an eye opener for you then, like to see like, hey, it's like such an interesting thing.
I don't know if we were right, but we were supposed to.
Right. You did your duty, and you actually worked together.
The foreman comes in and tells the bailiff that they're ready. They all gather their things. 8 stays back because Angry is just like upset on the table. He gives him his coat.
Yes.
8 does.
Yes.
I feel like this was supposed to be like they made peace with each other.
I think so.
I don't want any hard feelings here between the two of us. It actually is kind of touching that because Angry Dad accepts it.
Right.
He, lets him help him put it on.
Right.
Which is interesting too. It fades from the jury table. Like we like start going across the jury table with all the cigarette butts and ash and crap and
the notes.
Here, you know what another thing is
he
that
left
I'm
the
just
knife,
thinking
I
about.
think too.
Yeah, I think he did leave the knife. They're gonna be like, what the hell is this? That room has to stink like shit, right?
Oh, God, yeah.
Just man-ass and terrible 1950s cologne.
And smoke.
Galore.
And then it's connected to a bathroom where if someone was having stomach issues, then it's going to stink. And
with that terrible used towel.
Oh!
Yeah, that
moldy, germy towels.
Let's bottle that and just sell it as the 12 Angry Men scent, and it's just like a construction site mixed with fart, mixed with like aftershave, mixed with
and
cigarette.
A sewer?
God, what a smell. What a time to be alive. We cut to outside of the courthouse.
Yeah.
The old man walks up to Henry Fonda and asks for his name, and they exchange names. Davis and McLean, I can't remember the old man's name, but they exchange names. And I love that the old man just goes, well, so long. And that's the end of their interaction. Because that's it. That should be the end of it. You're done. You're done with each other.
McCardle.
So they say so long. They go home. And Henry Fonda walks down the stairs. You get a nice victory lap as quoted by We Hate Movies, the victory lap of every one of the jurors. It goes 1 through 12.
That's true, right.
Through the jurors.
Yep. And they kind of go off and back to their own lives, which is literally how it goes.
How it works, yeah.
Because most of the time, you're not going to know another person in your jury.
No. Nor should you, probably. That would be very weird if you did.
Right.
Like, because it is random, and you're, like, randomly selected, so that would feel weird.
Well, I think, fun fact, when I went, the husband and wife were together. They both got called in at the same time. Yeah. That's
very weird.
Mm-hmm.
Did they end up in the...
I don't know.
They probably never made it to a room, yeah.
I don't think so, yeah. I don't think they were on the grand... Like, either of them were on the grand jury, but I don't know if they ever got into a...
I don't think they would let them be.
Probably not. They probably would notice the names and just call them separately. They might have put them in different categories because the way they did it, we each got a number. And so we were in that group, so they might have put them in separate groups.
Gotcha. Well, Mom always likes to talk about when she went for jury duty, they asked her the questions, and it was someone
I know your
I don't know you, but I know your son, because he's been to my house. Yeah.
And then the judge is like, no, but how's Kevin?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, she said it after the proceeding, but yeah. Yeah. And that's it. Victory lap. Very well-deserved victory lap. And that's the end of 12 Angry Men. No real credits, because it's 1957, and fuck that.
Well, we had the
gotta
credits
get out of
here.
here.
It's fine. Opening credits.
That's true. Yeah. Well, you have to show them twice, so.
True. But we don't get to have an answer. We don't know what happens to the kid. We don't get any of that. This is all about the jury.
Not guilty. That's what
but we don't know anything else. Like, we don't know the whole story. We don't get to know the whole story. We only get to know what happens with the jury.
I'm guessing that he left town, or he's living in a slum.
I assume
with,
he's with
a friend
or
something.
Yeah. There might be like distant relative.
I bet that those attorneys were surprised though.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
Because they thought it was like an open and shut case, and the defense attorney didn't
I even think the judge thought so. I think that's why he was bored, because he's like, this is an open and shut.
The worst judge ever. Rachel, we have come to that time of the show where I will posit to you, does 12 Angry Men have shelf life?
Okay. So, I think it's a very well-made movie. I think it's a very good movie. So it's like, definitely watch it. And for me, because of how like it parallels, it seems to like come into play like with a lot of different things in life. I feel like it's interesting, and you watch it and you find something new, and you can like just, I don't know. I liked watching it. It felt like a play. It felt like I could watch it again, see something different. And for me, it has shelf life. It does. I am putting it on my shelf.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, this movie has shelf life. It's a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
Some call it a masterpiece. Kind of is. It's so simple.
It's so cinematic too, which is really interesting.
Some people might not like it because it's oldie times, it's black and white. It doesn't have that slow pace like a lot of older movies do. It's incredibly engaging. The acting is great. The movement of the camera is great.
Yes.
We've told you, like, it still fits.
Yeah, it
the
still
modern
fits.
times. It's gonna fit in times if you're listening to this way well into the future. It's one of those, you can't make a perfect movie because there's no such thing as a perfect movie, but there are perfect movies where it's like you wouldn't change a thing about them. 12 Angry Men's a perfect movie.
Yeah, I don't know if I would change really anything.
This is on the shelf. I don't own this. I'm gonna find it.
Oh yeah, we're gonna
at some point. I'm gonna get that 4K because you need to see. I need to see them sweating in black and white.
I want to see
4K.
it drip down his face.
Oh yeah, let me see that sweat.
That close up of that old man.
I like to see the sweaty men.
I want to see the veins in his eyes.
Sweat. So yeah, if you have never seen this movie, we found it. It's usually on some streaming site at some point. If it's not on one that you're subscribing to, it might be one for free. It might be on Hoopla or like one of those library apps.
Right.
It might be on Pluto or Tubi or something. You should see
Freevee or whatever the heck.
Because even if you're of the mind of it's not on your shelf,
I think it's a watch. It's definitely a watch.
Something for everyone. Yeah, definitely. Yes, shelf life for sure. I think you can go back and you can watch this. Maybe not constantly. Maybe not every year like Halloween was for us. But I think it's something where you can go back and you can find different things about it every time. Different jurors' faces, different little lines that are in the background.
Yeah, like
or
small
something.
nuances, like that you'd find. Yeah. And it's interesting talking to somebody else about it too, because they might notice something different.
We had different opinions about different
Exactly.
things, just about the way that they talked.
Right. And so it could be really interesting to like just to talk to somebody about it and see what their opinions are and like have a conversation.
Yeah. So folks, we were kind of on a roll here with we did 2 in a row. I mean, granted, one ended volume 2, one started volume 3 of these just like classic movies. We might have to go. We got to go the opposite direction here.
I think
just
we do,
totally.
actually.
We have to go like we gotta go away from maybe a classic, but like a classic for a different reason,
Sure.
or something.
Yeah.
I'm thinking maybe for next time. So yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Rachel, anything else for the folks at home about 12 Angry Men? Anything that we didn't cover? Anything that we need to cover?
No, I feel like we did a full coverage of this one.
I want a picture. I want that poster of either the 100 Acre Woods gang
That's right.
or the South Park gang.
That's right.
Around that table.
Let's go.
Give me that. Yeah.
Or I want to know who you'd put up there and let us know because I'm interested.
Oh, for a remake? Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't want the remake, but I just want to know who you'd put there.
Just want to know who it would be. For
Juror
sure.
to juror.
Juror to juror. Juror to Juror would be the sequel
I feel like it would
to
be.
12 Angry Men, where he gets put on the grand jury. It's called Juror to Juror.
Juror to juror.
So anyway, that was 12 Angry Men, directed by Sidney Lumet from 1957. Cross it off the list. It has shelf life. I have been Kevin.
And I'm Rachel.
And this is Shelf Life. We'll see you next time. I know the facts. We don't need to do it anymore.
Listen. Listen.
I have. Now sit down and don't open your mouth again.